All right, Heather, A through Z.
I'm going to go with T.
Why?
Why am I going with T?
Yeah, why are you going with T?
Honestly, it's because the news I knew about was Tom and Zendaya. I thought that's what you were going to go with.
Oh, yeah, Tom Holland and Zendaya got engaged.
Oh, cool.
That's exciting.
I guess. I mean, I've got nothing against them. I can't care anymore when celebrities get married because celebrities also get divorced, and it breaks my heart too much.
I understand that. That's fair. I hope that they last forever.
But also, if you don't, it's okay too.
Also true.
Yeah. Well, and better news than that. Over the last couple episodes, I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, I don't know. Sometime in the last few episodes, talked about Arnie Hammer. And he's like, yeah, I'm making a comeback. People feel bad for me. I'm getting so many offers. I'm having to turn them down. I've just gotten all the offers. I have a scoop. And that scoop is to what one of Arnie Hammer's roles is. One of the ones he accepted. One of the ones that he is doing that makes him too busy for these other roles. And I'm excited to say it's by one of Jastin's all-time favorite directors. I don't think I've ever heard Jastin say anything bad about this director. I've watched a few of his movies with you, Jastin. You love all of them.
Oh, no. What is this? I'm so afraid.
What do you mean you're afraid, Jastin? I mean, Jastin, and this is how I know you love his movies. Would you classify yourself as what the kids would call these days a gamer?
Maybe.
I'm just. Do you play the video games? That's all I'm asking, Jastin.
Yes.
You play? Yeah.
He feels like he's being set up.
I just don't know what you're doing. This feels like a trick. This feels like a trap.
Jastin, I'm just saying, how could you call yourself a gamer if you don't love every one of the movies of the most prolific video game movie director of all time?
Oh, no. It's a U-Bowl.
It is. It's Yuva Bowl.
What?
Arnie Hammer is just doing his Hollywood turnaround and turning down roles because Arnie Hammer is set to lead in Uwe Boll's vigilante thriller, The Dark Knight.
Wait, what else has he done?
What hasn't this man done? He did Blood Rain. He did Blood Rain 2. He did Alone in the Dark. He did House of the Dead. He did Dungeon Siege, A Dungeon Tale, or what the fuck that movie was called. There's way too many dungeons in the name of a movie. He did Postal. I think he did Postal 2.
Postal.
I mean, you think of a video game movie from the mid 2000s. There's just a chance this man directed it.
I can actually say the only one of those I've heard of is the Blood Rain one.
Heather. Are you
is
telling
it on
me?
My list?
Are you telling me that you've never seen just the groundbreaking House of the Dead?
I have not. Negative.
Are you saying you have not watched the Christian Slater and Tara Reid and I believe Steven Dorff? Maybe not Christian. I don't know. I'm Alone in the Dark.
No. Wait. Is that a horror movie? Or it is a video game movie?
It's a video game movie.
No, definitely not.
It
then.
could still be a horror movie, though. House of the Dead is. I mean, Jastin was absolutely terrified when he watched that movie.
I was thinking of a different, I think, Steven Dorff movie or something, but.
Oh, no, that movie's called Blade.
Yes, that one. Mm-hmm.
You ever seen In the Name of the King of Dungeon Siege?
That's right. Is that a Dungeon Tale? I don't.
You ever seen In the Name of the King?
I can't believe I forgot the name of that
movie?
You haven't seen In the Name of the King of Dungeon Siege.
Wait, what is
In the Name of the King of Dungeon Siege?
I need you to tell me that name slow. What is it? It's In the Name of the King what?
A Dungeon Siege.
Siege tale.
In the Name of the King of Dungeon Siege tale.
Okay. Nope.
I mean, it sounds. I don't know how you've never heard of that movie. It just flows so eloquently off the tongue.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it though?
Think about the worst possible like Dungeons and Dragons-esque movie starring Jason Statham as a farmer. In fact, I believe his name in the movie is Farmer. I think they just call him Farmer throughout the movie.
In the Name of the King, Dungeon Siege.
Yeah.
Tale.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's just kind of one of those movie titles you don't forget.
It's like the
Except
Haunting in
for
Connecticut
Dungeon
one.
Siege.
Except for me, when I said Dungeon Siege, a Dungeon Tale, or whatever the fuck I called it, I completely fucked that one up.
It's just so many words that how could I forget it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Haunting in Connecticut 2 one. It's pretty on par with that. What is it? Haunting in Connecticut 2, Ghosts of Georgia or something?
Yes, A Haunting in Connecticut 2, Ghosts of Georgia.
Or it's like Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Yeah, you could just leave it at Precious. That's fine.
I mean, so In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale. I mean, it has Jason Statham. It has Ron Perlman. It has Ray Liotta. It has Lily Sobieski. It is Jonathan Rhys Davies. It has Claire Forlani. It has Kristana Loken. It has Matthew Lillard. It has Brian White. I mean, this cast is stacked.
I was about to say, that's a good cast of people, actually.
Just utterly stacked. It is probably one of the single worst things you could ever watch.
Man.
I mean, you know how when you watch those movies where like the big name actor did it because they're like, I needed to remodel my kitchen.
Yes.
This movie financed so many renovations on people's houses. But yeah, that is the director of the movie that Arnie Hammer is bragging about making his fucking comeback with.
Oh my gosh. That basically means there was nothing. And you were both called. Anyway, well, it's something.
Hey, all I'm saying is nobody does a Yuva Bowl movie because they're busy.
What is it usually? Because they're starting out or at their end of their career?
Or they just, like I said, needed a new pull. Because this was Jason Statham after The Transporter, but it's kind of before he had his renaissance of like doing movies again. You know what I mean? He just kind of was like in a lull.
So this was in the 2000s?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I want to say this movie came out in 2007, 2008. Let's see when.
Yeah, he must have some sort of
2007.
gift to be able to corner people and talk them into his movies. I don't understand.
I mean,
I
listen
don't
to this.
understand how he got people like Jason Statham or Ray Liotta. I don't get it.
Listen to this. A man named Farmer sets out to rescue his kidnapped wife and avenge the death of his son. 2 acts committed by the Krugs, a race of animal warriors who are controlled by the evil Galleon. I mean, enough said.
It has 4% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Do you think I could just buy a bundle of Yuva Bowl movies on iTunes for like $1.50?
You would do it if it was $1.50 though, wouldn't you?
Just to make you watch them.
Don't make her watch In the Name of the King of Dungeon Siege Tale.
Yes. Oh, did you know he directed?
Don't make her do it.
Did you know he directed a movie called Far Cry, based on, I guess, the game Far Cry?
Yes, I know.
Jastin, that was a legit question because I did not know that.
I know.
I believe we're going to just push all of Jastin's buttons tonight somehow.
All right, Heather. Alone in the Dark. Do you want to know how bad this movie is?
Tell me.
I want you to guess what the percentage is of its score on Rotten Tomatoes.
We're talking not audience, but critics.
Sure.
Okay, either one. What was the name of it?
Alone in the Dark.
Alone in the Dark.
Like I said, starring Christian Slater, Tara Reid, Stephen Dorff.
I'm going to guess 18.
Oh, you have a bold wishes. I'll give you 2 more guesses, Heather. Aim lower.
6.
Once again, you've a bold wishes. Aim lower.
Oh, like 2?
I hate to break it to you. You got the Yuva Bowl Wishes hat trick. Lower, because it's a 1.
Oh, boy. 1%.
I think that one critic was probably his mom. And it was just why are you guys so mean to my Yuva? That was it. That was the whole review.
Positive score.
Why are you so mean to my baby Yuva? That movie is like the absolute reverse of Get Out. Like, the 1% that didn't give it a good score is the one who gave this one a good score.
It's literally the anti-Paddington 2.
Right?
I mean, how does he get these people? Like, even in Blood Rain, he had Christina Loken, he had Michael Madsen, he had Ben Kingsley, he had Michelle Rodriguez. Like, how does he do this? How does he talk them into this?
He got dirt on him or what?
Is that what he is? Is he a blackmailer?
How is he able to get them?
And I think that's how he got Arnie Hammer, is because he just didn't blackmail him. And Arnie Hammer's like, man, fantastic. Let's do this.
Maybe he's just like a really cool guy that they all hang out with outside.
Oh, no, apparently he's a fucking dick.
Really? Oh.
This man went, I'm tired of people saying my movies are bad. I'm going to box movie critics. And he just beat up on some little nerd fucks, man.
Oh. I mean, is he just hoping maybe having Armie Hammer in it maybe is like going to make him not the worst guy?
No.
I forgot that he was boxing critics.
Yeah.
I forgot that he was like, yeah.
I'll say this about Yuval.
Who's this man?
He is a big man. He is a big man. And he's fighting just little toothpick looking motherfuckers. You know, like when an actor, everybody gets
back when he lifted weights, right?
Yeah. You remember when actors, like when people start second guessing if they have like an eating disorder or they do a lot of heroin? That's what the movie critics he was fighting looked like. They were fucking twigs. And he was a big, beefy man. And he's German, so you know he's just got some hate crime built up in him. But yeah, aren't you glad about that, guys? Aren't you happy? Jastin, aren't you legitimately happy that the likelihood of us ever watching an Arnie Hammer movie ever again is just like 0? Because like, I know what movie we're about to review. And I know what movies we've talked about possibly doing maybe next week and down the future and all these things. I don't think I would ever legitimately suggest a Yuva Bowl movie, though. Like, I have some standards. And also, who the fuck's rebounding their career with Yuva Bowl? Like, Arnie Hammer's going to be a bunch of shit that just plays on free television, and that's it. You know how like all the major TV brands have that free streaming channel, like as a part of their TV? That's where Yuva Bowl movies are. They're just somewhere in one of those.
Yep.
I think Yuva Bowl movies are made just to launder money. So that's one of my big newses. I've got one other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. That if you remember any conversation we had yesterday in the group chat, you'll know what I'm talking about. But outside of that, do you guys have any other news? Because like I said, I completely forgot about Tom and Zendaya.
Honestly, the only thing is Golden Globes were kind of mid this year, from my understanding. And that's it.
That was one of the most confusing sentences I've ever heard in my life.
What?
What you just said.
That the Golden Globes were mid?
I just keep hearing you say the Golden Globes were the Golden Globes. I'm very confused by your sentence.
Oh, you just say.
You really got me on that one. That was good. Yeah.
I just don't know what expectations you have from the Golden Globes if you're like, guys, they were mid.
Yeah.
Sounds like a year.
I guess like just one of the most uneventful ones, and just unfortunately just a lot of the movies that were up for stuff or shows I haven't really seen. So I just feel like I was not as invested as I might have been in previous years, even though they still make mistakes with their awards in previous years.
I'm just going to say welcome to the point I reached about like 8 years ago. I just don't care anymore. I'll give some credence to the Academy Awards, but the Golden Globes lost me when they had The Tourist nominated for one of their best movie categories.
Mm.
They did that, and I'm like, nope, I no longer, they don't take this seriously. Why the fuck should I? Do you remember The Tourist? Do you remember that movie?
I didn't watch it, but I remember it being a thing.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this with love. I would rather make you watch Alone in the Dark than The Tourist. Just because I think Alone in the Dark is at least educational. Like, it puts things into perspective. Like, regardless of how we feel about tonight's movie, it's not Alone in the Dark. You know, like, Alone in the Dark is the movie to really show you just how low the bar can be. So, the last thing, the final thing I want to talk about is something I've seen going around on TikTok, and I thought we should put it into perspective a little bit. This past Monday, a major sporting company, if you will, debuted their new show on Netflix. And there was a man who some would call a legend for that company by the name of Hulk Hogan, who appeared on this show. And I think people in the industry would say he was booed. I think that's the term, booed. And people are saying, we're coming to his defense saying, I can't believe they would boo this man because of his political beliefs. And I feel like I can confidently speak for everybody that was booing. I think his political beliefs were the least of any of it on any of their minds when they were booing him. Because if that was the case, people would have booed The Undertaker, who also made an appearance on that show. I didn't hear any boos.
Yep.
No boos for the Taker.
No boos for the Taker.
And I can confidently say they have the exact same political views. Because they do.
Don't a lot of old school wrestlers have that?
A lot of wrestlers do. I don't even think we need to necessarily say old school. A lot of wrestlers do.
To be fair, I don't know a lot of the newer ones, but I just know like the ones I remember watching when I was younger. I feel like they all fall into that category.
They do. But let's also be realistic. A lot of wrestling fans do. The problem wasn't Hulk Hogan's political beliefs. The problems were Hulk Hogan. He has a horrible history of being insanely racist. I'm not even talking about like grandmother from a different era racist. I'm talking about this man says things that sound like you're interviewing a fucking KKK member. It's a different level of racism. So much so that in his defense of himself, he once said, well, I'm just, always going to be a little racist. Okay. I guess that's the level we're at with him. That he'll change his ways, but guys, you got to cut him some slack. He's just going to be a little racist. He can't help it. It's just who he is.
Dude is a walking red flag. Like, I mean, he always has been.
It's tiresome. It really is. I get why the WWE thinks that they need to have him be a part of this stuff. He has been one of the biggest aspects of wrestling for decades. Not so much lately, but just in the general history of it. But at a certain point, you just have to start looking forward. You can't look back because, as well, I don't watch the WWE all that often or anything like that, but I still feel like I can confidently say they're just in a different place. They don't need that. You've already got The Rock came back. You got Triple H doing the opening. You've got John Cena starting the end of his, farewell tour. You know what you don't need? The 80s. Or for that matter, the early 90s. None of that has any place anymore. Because, well, older wrestling fans know who he is, and by some degree, some of the younger ones do because their parents do whatever. Is he a merch seller anymore? Are people really, is having him be a part of something really going to move the needle in any way that you want? I mean, I have family members that are around my age who love him. And they're like, oh my God, not only does he support Trump, but he's also the Hulk. And they're like, oh my God, he's got a beer coming out. I'm going to have to drink the beer because it's the Trump Hogan beer. And they still haven't done that. Because it might sound like fun in their head and all this other stuff, but when it came down time to do it, well, all they have to do is just go buy his beer. Just go buy it. Then you can drink it. They still haven't done it. Because it's one of those things where when you actually have to do something, other than saying a word, you actually have to put action to your feelings. It is very quick and easy for them to justify not doing it. Because they still don't care. They act like they do, but they don't. They don't care. They're not buying his beer. No one cares.
He actually was in Odessa not too long ago.
I heard about that.
Was it sometime last month?
Yeah.
I want to say it was last month.
I know what you're talking about.
He came to Odessa, and then I think he went to Lubbock. He went to some places here in West Texas. And, you know, I knew a lot of people who went and met him and said, oh, it was the greatest moment of my life and stuff like that. You know, there were people that were like, man, I've always wanted to meet him, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it was, I think the news covered it and everything. You know, it was like a big deal that day when he came into town. So, so I imagine there's some sort of deal. And WWE has deals with a lot of what they call legends.
Yes,
where
legends
it's like
contract.
this contractual type thing where they make certain appearances, they show up at different times, or sometimes when the WWE, because WWE does all types of media just beyond the show. You know, there's autograph signings, there's these fan access things where you may have legends be at that, or there may be panel things where fans can talk to legends about the good old days and all of that kind of stuff. So they serve more purposes than having a presence on the actual Raw, SmackDown, NXT shows. So maybe there are some uses for legends, just depending on what the presentation is. And sometimes, if used right, it can provide a good nostalgia act. Like for instance, they recently had like a Saturday Night's Main Event, and Jesse the Body Ventura was on it, you know, doing commentary and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of like time and place. Like sometimes when they do nostalgia stuff, it's cool. Stone Cold wrestled Kevin Owens at a WrestleMania one time, and it was pretty cool. You know, every now and then, they're very hit and miss with that. But Hogan getting booed like that is very telling, because even after some of that controversial stuff happened, I want to say he had come back a time or two, and the reception wasn't quite like that. But I think what is starting to happen is that you just keep hearing these negative stories. You just keep hearing these things that happen. And at a certain point, I think you have to ask yourself, okay, I know that he's apologized for some of these things, but how sincere was that? Where is the attempt to really change or rectify? And then when you talk to other people and you watch some of these news media things he's been on, where he was talking about, oh, I apologize and I'm not really like that, and asking the fans to forgive him and stuff like that, you know, you're going to have some fans that do and say, well, he apologized. What more do you want him to do? But when you really look at some of that stuff, it comes off more as a, I'm sorry I got caught, more than it comes off as, I'm sorry for, I'm sorry because I understand the gravity of my comments and what I said. And I think that that's the problem with Hulk Hogan. I think the issue is it's a little bit of both. Not only was he in one of the most liberal places, and not only was he more open about supporting Donald Trump, like he was there, and I think he took off a shirt at the Trump rally or whatever, and you know, he made a big spectacle of himself at that. So that didn't help matters.
Well,
but I think it's just all of this stuff adding up, man.
Well,
and
to be slightly fair, Taker did do like political ads for Trump. like it was him and Glenn Jacobs, also known as Kane, were doing political ads, like where it was both of them, and they're like, "Yeah, do you want to be with the Brothers of Destruction and Trump, or do you want to be with Kamala Harris and Dave Bautista?" They really cut it like a promo. It was kind of funny.
That's a terrible ad. That's just a terrible defense, honestly. You could have just said Dave Bautista alone, and I would have been like, yeah, totally him. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It was all in response to that video that Dave Bautista did for Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah. But
I forgot about that.
And so, like, I think it's a combination of other things. And even though those other people supported Trump, there's just something about Hogan where there's this aura of, like, it's kind of this aura of what's genuine about him. Like, is he supporting this because he really believes it? Or is he supporting this because financially somehow this is going to help? Is he there because, he just really believes that he's researched politics and he truly believes? Because I've heard The Undertaker talk about politics. He at least sounds like somebody who at least knows what he's talking about and believes in it and stuff like that. Even if I don't agree, on some level, I can at least respect that. If you're talking and it seems like you've researched things and you just think that this is best for the country, I think that's a view that I respect more than somebody who just seems like, I'm here because of how this is going to help me. I know this beer is coming out. This is a way to get in front of millions of people real quick. And, I just feel like Hogan kind of has this aura about him of just taking advantage of any situation to get the spotlight, money, etc. And that track record follows when you look at interviews of other people who have interacted with him, things that have come to light about how he was in locker rooms, the politicking, stabbing people in the back, telling on certain people to get them in trouble, or when, or like, I know, I want to say it was Ventura and some others who tried to unionize wrestling, and he was against that and spoke out against that. So like, and then the racist comments and sort of the insincere apology and actions afterward with it all. So I feel like this is just a lot of shit that's adding up. You feel like if it was one thing or a couple of things, maybe he doesn't get that reaction. But when it's thing after thing after thing after thing, and it's not the 70s and 80s anymore. People can look this stuff up. People can reference this stuff. People are aware of more things now than they were. You used to could just probably in the 80s and stuff, sweep stuff under the rug and it'd be like, okay, or maybe this part of the fan base knows, but eventually they'll just forget or something like that. Like, I think it was just way easier back then to maybe not worry about this shit. But I think what we're seeing is that, and also just kind of to Sterling's point, the fans are changing. What they want out of their wrestling is changing. Fans are just becoming more tolerant. It's not the trailer park, wrestling fans now are a little more diverse. It's not just, that used to be kind of a joke. Oh, only trailer trash watches wrestling. Not necessarily that way anymore. And especially when you look at the independent wrestling scene. The independent wrestling scene is extremely diverse.
Oh, yeah.
And then so I just think it's kind of one of those things that times are changing and you're not seeing Hulk changing.
Well,
with those times.
With that, I think you brought up the point of the unionization thing. I think if you want to bring politics into it, I think that that's a bigger issue in California than in LA specifically than necessarily that he was pro-Trump. You know what I mean? Because that documentary recently aired where they re-brought that up. It's been kind of an open secret for a long time. A lot of people knew about the whole, him screwing over the entire community of wrestling when it comes to unionization and Jesse the Body Ventura. People have known that for a while. But I think it became this catalyst of, it reminded people in this documentary that came out last year when they're like, oh yeah, this is what happened. And what is it? That was Hulk looking out for himself, not anybody else. That was a Hulk Hogan only move. And I like the way you put it, Jastin, where it seems like it's a money grab here and there, because how are you the guy that's like, take your vitamins, say your prayers, go buy my beer?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I like alcohol. It's delightful. Don't get me wrong. I think eating healthy is fine too. But you also have to accept on a completely, no matter how you look at it, like scientific basis, alcohol's not what you would call healthy. There's no such thing as a healthy alcoholic product. It's impossible. Alcohol, by definition, is drinking a toxin. You are drinking something that is legitimately poisonous to your body. Now, you can do it in moderation. You can do all kinds of things to where it's not going to kill you, but it can. You can drink yourself to death. You can give yourself alcohol poisoning from drinking because it is a toxin. So I really do think that that's another thing that, like you said, people are wising up to. This was the man that was saying, take your vitamins, lift some weights. You'll be as big and strong as Hulk. Even though we also all know he did steroids, and now he's like, hey, now buy my beer. And so what does it feel like? Like you said, Jastin, it just feels like a cash grab. He's saying, look at me, I'm Hulk Hogan. Go buy this thing to make me money.
Yeah, and also trying to stay relevant, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where I think the insincerity of all that just rubs people the wrong way on top of everything else. I think it's just, it's like you said, Jastin, it is like a cataclysm of things. It's an avalanche. It's just thing
it's
after
just an
thing
avalanche.
after thing. And every time he apologizes for one thing, something worse comes out. It's along the same lines. It's not like, it wasn't just him going, man, I don't like my daughter dating black men. It's, I don't like my daughter dating insert racial slur. And he's like, my bad, guys. And then it's like, oh yeah, here is another comment that's like audio recorded of him saying racial slur again. And it's just, it never ends. I mean, it's just a constant thing. Like I said, so much so that his defense now is, I've learned a lot of lessons, but I'm still just going to be a little racist. Like, okay, like that's supposed to be well, he's trying. Can't get rid of all of it. Like, how antibacterial soap just gets rid of 99% of the germs, and they put that on their advertisements, and they're like, yeah, it kills 99.9% of germs. Everyone's like, that's a lot of germs. But he's doing that with his racism. He's like, guys, I've gotten rid of 99% of it, but I'm just going to be just having to say some racial slurs because, I got that 1% I just can't get rid of, guys. And he just expects everybody as a whole to go, okay. He's put in the work. He's done. He's fixed. No more time to worry about it. And I do agree with you, Jastin. I do think that the Legends contracts, that's a good idea. They serve a purpose. And if you're going to have Hulk Hogan do something, I don't know, have him show up when you're in fucking Dallas. I just don't know what they're expecting on that night.
Exactly. Like from a strategic standpoint, it was just so short-sighted, and it just felt almost like arrogance. Like, of course, when I come out here for a wrestling event, I'm going to get the pop because I always get the pop. But I think this is kind of a harsh reality to it's like, okay, well, Hogan just can't be anywhere. And then there are going to be people that were like, well, why did they boo him? And maybe if you didn't know all of this background stuff, it might cause you to look up. So could this wind up happening more? Could this become, you know, how quickly something can become a movement just by online presence and people talking about it, and people, I've already seen some memes and stuff like that that kind of are referencing this whole thing that happened. But I wonder how many more towns that he might go to and get booed. And if it keeps being this constant thing, I wonder what they do then, you know?
And it's funny because you also reminded me of whenever, you know, you're talking about the cash grab and all this other stuff. That spin he did on one of his own old promos where he's like, you know, my best tag team partner is the fans. And then in this one, he's like, and my best tag team partner is Netflix. Like, come on, bro. You just literally said, fuck you, fans. Netflix is paying me money. You literally just said that. You just said you care more about Netflix than you do the fans. I mean, and it's one of those things. I think it comes back to why do I bring up a lot of times the bad things people do when we do this podcast, or bad things that people have done and all these other things? And I think we also touched about it when you and I did that White Savior episode, Jastin. I'm not saying you can't like Hulk Hogan, but I do think that people should have more information. Take the information we give, then make your own decision after that. That's fine. If you still want to go, I'm a Hulkamaniac, fair enough. Go be a Hulkamaniac. But just have the information. That's all I want. I'm never, like, if somebody's out there going, I love Mark Wahlberg, it's not like I'm going to walk up to him and slap him in the face. Go, how dare you? But it's like that one episode, I want to say it was the Justice League episode, where no one knew about the terrible things Mark Wahlberg had done. That's all. I just want you to know. And then if you still like Marky Mark after that, fair enough. We've talked about Mark Wahlberg movies since then. That's fine. I just, like I said, I think it's important for people to have the actual information that's out there. And because I think it's important to make informed decisions. You know? Like, why do I care about the horrible things that Alfred Hitchcock did to Tippi Hedren when they made The Birds? Because I like making informed decisions. If you love Birds still, fantastic. If I'm completely neutral about everything, it's a good movie. It's a classic movie. But I think people should know what Alfred Hitchcock did.
Yeah, I mean, especially the more and more lately too, like just the glorifying of Hollywood and celebrities is just outrageous at times over people that shouldn't be glorified. So it makes sense because it's just like, you know, like, and I know that there's certain people that we don't talk about on our podcast because it's like, no, I'm not going to give any attention to somebody who doesn't deserve that for the things they've done. And I think that's totally fair.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess as it concerns me. Like it's a touchy subject for me because in every sense of the word, I was a Hulkamaniac. Like he was one of the people
You
that
what were those little wrestling things like the little buddies, the little stuffed
yeah,
wrestlers?
the little wrestling buddies. Yep.
I
I
had
had a
Hulk.
Hulk Hogan.
I had a Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
I had a Hulk
Macho
Hogan
Man
t-shirt.
or an Ultimate Warrior. Had an Ultimate Warrior and had a Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And so, like, so I understand the significance of him. I get some of the growing up and the childhood infatuation and all of that kind of stuff and what he means to wrestling and none of that stuff you're never going to be able to take away from him. He is somebody. He will always be one of those people synonymous with one of the first people that really got wrestling over the hump as far as mainstream popularity and stuff like that. So he's always going to have an influence in wrestling. That you'd be wasting your time. You're never going to take that from him. But like when he came to Odessa, that I can't get excited for him. I can't get excited about anything he does. I could care less about the beer that he's selling. And it's funny because like, and a funny thing that happened with that whole thing is like, I've got friends of all races and colors and stuff like that. And sometimes it's funny when things like this happen because it really kind of puts into perspective. Like I love all my white friends. Sterling, you're one of my white friends. Heather, you're one of my white friends. You know, I don't have any problem with my white friends.
Jastin, the sad thing is I just know where this story is going because I know where the fuck you live.
You probably do know where it's going. But like sometimes the world has a way of just harshly reminding you of who really understands and empathizes with you and who doesn't. You know, like it was so weird that day that I was getting messages and like DMs and people going, "Hey, Jastin, did you know that Hulk Hogan was in town today? Are you going to go see him? Are you excited about that?" You know, my white friends. And
I was about to say, because when you started that,
and it was all about, but in contrast, all of my black friends and people of color were the ones messaging me and going, "I know why you didn't go."
Yeah. Like I was about to say, Jastin, like when you were like, I've got, friends and fans of all, color. I'm like, oh no. And you were like, and that day I was like, all the white people were excited and everyone else was just like, fuck.
Yep. And what was funny though, was like, so this other guy that I know that's he's a black guy and he's a wrestler. I've wrestled him on a few occasions, mainly in Lubbock, Texas. He's kind of and he lives like, I think in Dallas or he's somewhere a good ways away. I know he's more than like 5. I'm not sure exactly where he resides, but on that day, all of these people and we got a lot of the same people in the friendship circle. So on that day, of course, there were countless people, mostly my white friends and fan base that were posting locally, that were posting going, "Oh man, Hulk is here. I'm in line," or, "Oh, I was so happy to meet him," and taking pictures with him and stuff like that. And so randomly I get tagged in a post on that day and I'm like, uh-oh, who's tagging me? And I'm like, man, did somebody tag me in something about Hulk Hogan? Like I'm just like, oh God, who tagged me in it and what is this about? And it was that black guy I know. And he tagged me and another black guy that from here that wrestles here. And he was like, "Hey, and he was like, I'm not going to explain a damn thing, but I am proud of Jastin." And he named the other wrestler and he just posted a black fist. And it took me a second. It took me because I had kind of, and that was kind of what reminded me. Because for a minute I had kind of like, I wasn't even thinking about Hulk Hogan being there and everything. And then I saw that post And it got a laugh out of me because I knew what he meant. And you should have seen all the people that were like, what could you mean by that? What could you mean? What did you mean? And they didn't understand what he meant. And he was like, I refuse to explain myself, you know?
You know, I probably would have been confused if I saw that because I don't live there anymore. Just so I wouldn't have had that firsthand knowledge that Hulk Hogan was there.
Yeah.
I found out, I guess, afterwards. Because you know how like Facebook never really shows you anything that's happening then? It's hours later that you see people's posts.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Jastin, I my Facebook feed was weirdly, I guess, the same as yours with that. It was a lot of white people going, hell yeah, brother. I met the Hulkster. I didn't see a single person of color that I know that still lives in Midland that went, hell yeah. I saw Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would have just been confused because I just wouldn't have known, like I said, that was that day. You know what I mean? But I think if you have that context, it's just like well, duh. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah. I understand, man. I understand. So that was just a very strange day. Like, because I'm seeing all of these people just having the time of their lives. And it was like, you know, how often do you get to meet Hulk Hogan? And people were so happy and celebrating and stuff like that. And, you know, so it kind of, and it just sucks that, and I'll just leave it with this. And it just sucks that somebody that influential to wrestling, somebody that influential to the very thing I'm doing, so, somebody who I was a genuine fan of. And it's crazy that that person comes this close in meeting distance. And I'm doing everything I can just not to be reminded of that day. And it just kind of hurts that it's come to that, like that. But that's how I felt. And I can only feel the way I feel and do what I felt I needed to do. So, you know, I didn't share anything about any of that. I didn't answer back any of those people that messaged me and said, are you going to be there or anything like that? I just, you know, like, if you don't get it, I'm not going to explain myself at this point. Like, I don't feel like I owe anybody an explanation.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was a weird day. It was a weird day.
And the thing is with that is it's just, you know, there are people that went there and even like were like, man, are you excited or whatever to you, that do know the things he said. And the thing is to be 100% fair or honest or whatever, there are also people that don't. And it's because they just don't care. And I'm not saying they don't care what he said. I'm just saying they don't care to look into anything. They don't care. Like, that's just not their spectrum of things. You know what I mean? Like, they just remember one time they, you know, on a Saturday night, they're watching the Saturday night main event with their dad. And they're like, man, that's probably one of my best memories with my dad. I don't remember wrestling for shit, but I remember Hulk Hogan. My dad liked him. And then that's why they were doing it. And outside of that, they probably have thought of Hulk Hogan just 0 times in their life until they're like, oh, Hulk Hogan's going to be there. And they're like, oh, yeah, remember that one time with my dad? That was a good day. And that's why they wanted to go. And that's all fair. But at the same time, like I said, like why I think it's important just to bring some of this stuff up is just for some of those people that may not know or may not care or just may not have looked into anything, just so they know. Like I said, once you have the information, it's on you to make whatever decision you're making in your own life.
Yeah.
We're not going to sit here and tell you what to do with your own life with it. Now, we can decide what we do or don't talk about on the podcast. You know, there are things and there are movies like, you know, I don't care if we do like, hey, a fan vote. And they're like, hey, guys, I really want you to watch this Woody Allen film. I ain't gonna do it. Like, you know, we have our own lines with that, but that's because this is us. Like, this is our stuff. You know what I mean? And we can draw those lines, but I can't tell somebody you can never watch a Woody Allen film. I can just tell you why you shouldn't, or why I think you shouldn't. But if you want to still watch Woody Allen film after that, hey brother, that's on you. Nothing. I mean,
yeah. And for anybody that may be listening to this and going, man, I sent him one of those messages. I didn't know you felt like this, man. And that's fair game. I wasn't mad at anyone. I'm not trying to alienate or demonize anybody who sent me a message or thought it was cool, that they just know me as a wrestler and they were like, oh, a big wrestler's in town. Jastin might be involved, or Jastin might be up there, or Jastin might be fair game. And like you said, some people are totally ignorant of all the things that Hogan has done. And to be fair to the other side of that, some people know about that stuff and they have forgiven him, you know, whether he deserves it or not. They just genuinely go, you know what? I get that you didn't buy his apology and everything, but I did. I feel like he did what he needed to do. He apologized, and I believe him. I believe him, and I forgive him. I can't make you forgive him or look past that. And I think that's fair game too. So if you're one of those people, cool. I'm just not one of those people. And I'm not saying I hate Hulk Hogan. I'm not one of these people that's going to get online and go, fuck Hulk Hogan and all of that kind of shit. I'm not one of those people. What I would like to see from him, though, is more of what I wanted to see, I just haven't seen yet. And that's sort of where I stand with it. I want to see more of an effort to show that you changed, or that you want to change, or that this matters to you, that you did these things.
You understand the gravity of what you said and did.
Yeah, that you understand the gravity of what you did and what you said. And I just need to feel like every time I see you, it's not to try to sell me something. Like, and I just have not seen that from him in a long time.
Yeah. And isn't it crazy how much that changes as an adult? Because when you were a kid, you loved seeing Hulk Hogan on a commercial selling you shit. Now that you're an adult, you're just like, fuck Hogan, quit trying to sell me shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and then maybe this goes without saying, but I don't drink beer. Why would I be there? He was doing a side in, like, he was trying to get you to, when you're signing autographs and talking to him, he's trying to get you to buy his beer. I sure wasn't about to do that. So it's even weird that people message me like, this is a beer promotion, right? Like, this is a beer promotion.
Jastin, what are you talking about?
You're the most
prolific drinker I've ever met. I remember that one time you came up here and you drank, what was it? I think you called it a Diet Dr. Pepper. Looked like a cocktail.
Yep. Remember when y'all took me out and I got didn't I get like a virgin margarita or something? Or
you
virgin daiquiri.
We went to that pop-up bar.
Yeah, you were like,
the Die Hard one.
This is just a strawberry. This is just a strawberry drink.
It's a strawberry. A virgin strawberry daiquiri is just a strawberry smoothie.
Yeah,
that's all it is. It's a strawberry smoothie without rum. Like, that's all it is. But yeah,
anyway,
I didn't even think about that. That's why he was there, was to promote his beer. If people are going, Jastin, come to the beer signing. That kind of just makes it funnier.
Exactly.
I get like feeling like the other part. I just, it does, because it's serious. Like, you have real reasons why you don't want to be around Hulk Hogan or go meet him or any of those things. And, and why, and you even said it wasn't that they bothered you, but I'm just saying that people are like saying, hey, you should go see him. But it does slightly make it funnier whenever you broke it down. Because like I said, I didn't even think of that. It was a beer thing. It was a beer promotion. And they're going, Jastin, come to the beer promotion. That's funny. That part of it is funny.
Yeah.
I mean, and just in general, like, I don't know, something that I was hearing recently, just about like specific celebrities in general, is just kind of like, yeah, it might be a thing where like, oh, I don't agree with this person, but I like them enough to watch their stuff or support them, or even if it was like voting for certain people or whatever. It's like, even if you're like, yeah, I like them. I'm not racist, but I still like this person. It's the fact that on the other end of it, it's like, but them being racist wasn't a deal breaker for you in any sort of way. And that's kind of a big deal. You know what I mean?
That's always the most disgusting qualifier.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
racist.
like, I don't agree with them, but yeah.
But I still support this person.
Exactly.
Like you said, it's the fact that you're going, hey, I know. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's what makes it disgusting.
Yeah. It's like, it's the fact that like you might say that, or you might not, agree with how they feel about these things, but you're saying that this deplorable thought pattern is not completely unacceptable to you when it should be with certain things. So.
Oh man. I legit did not mean for the news to go this long for this movie. I know it's going to seem like I have a pattern with certain types of movies dragging the news for an hour. That was 100% unintentional this time.
I think it's intentional.
Jastin, I don't know why.
He's on a warpath today. Oh. Jastin's just not having it.
See, don't let Jastin trick you. Jastin's the reason we're doing this movie.
What?
Yeah. What was our original game plan, Jastin? Wasn't it Squid Games? Wasn't it you that was like, hey guys, I can't finish Squid Games. Let's do something else. Just saying. You're the reason we're doing this.
Damn it.
So, don't let his faux outrage trick you.
The wheel cheats, bro.
Jastin, you watched the video. I sent you the video of the wheel, Jastin. And also, you had the power to change it and didn't. So, I'm just saying, don't let Jastin trick you. This is his fault.
Somebody will listen to me.
Nobody knows anything but you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and Jastin. And tonight we're going to talk about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with the movie Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. We will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores, and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description that allow you to jump around if you so require. And with all that, I think it is fair that we start with our resident Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey expert, which unfortunately is me. Because I've actually seen the first one twice. So by default, I've seen one of these two movies more times than you guys. I actually paid money and went and watched Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey in theaters on the night it premiered. So yes, I am the resident expert of this. There's a trend on TikTok, guys, and I think we're going to have to follow that for this movie. And that is, we listen and we don't judge. I don't hate this movie. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I love it. I'm just saying I don't hate it. Because if you're 100% honest with yourself, this movie is no less than 200 times better than the first one. It is. It is a better movie than the first one. And I think that that is an objectively true statement. It's not good. But I don't hate this movie. I don't. I think that there is some weird, horrible fun to be had watching this movie. And I say this genuinely. I'm not saying it's a better movie than Craven. I did enjoy this movie better than Craven. I'm not saying it's a better movie than Madam Web. I enjoyed this movie better than Madam Web. I'm not saying that this is a better movie than Borderlands or The Crow. That's kind of a lie. I think it actually is. I think that is objectively true. I think it's better than those movies. I just weirdly had a fun time watching this, but it is bad. Don't get me wrong. It is bad, but fun in some elements. I think this movie has a higher budget than the first one. And I think you can really feel that. I think the production, like, Pooh doesn't look like a guy in a Halloween mask wearing gardening gloves. He kind of looks like a bear person. They still had the proportions wrong, though, for him. Because he's got the weird gut, like the Pooh, he's got the Pooh belly. But the head is really small. They need to give Pooh a bigger head. I really dug the addition of Owl. I thought that was kind of cool, the way he looked and the way he talked. I didn't hate that. I thought Tigger was kind of fun. In just the dumbest way possible. There's at one point, a cop just says, "Hey guys, let's bounce." And Tigger goes, "That's my line," and kills him. That's stupid. But I think I chuckled. I at least chuckled in my mind. I don't know if I chuckled out loud. But I at least kind of chuckled. I thought the Piglet design was better than the first movie, too. It's Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Do we really... I guess there's spoilers. I don't know. But I don't hate it. I wasn't miserable the whole time. There was some element of fun to it. It's still bad. I'm not saying it's good. But I just wasn't miserable the whole time. It's an hour and a half. And afterwards, I didn't hate myself. I can't say that about so many other movies we watched in 2024. So many movies we watched. I hated myself afterwards for having been like duped into watching it. I didn't feel that way about this movie. Which, I'm not going to lie, kind of makes me hate myself. It's a weird double-edged sword. But I don't hate it. But the rest of my time I'm going to do real quick is I just want to do a quick explanation of this movie. So this movie does a weird version of what Thanksgiving 3 did. So the reason why Winnie the Pooh and Piglet look different, the reason why there's a new actor playing Christopher Robin, the reason why some of the story elements as to why Pooh and the gang are doing the things they do are different than the first movie, is because like they have set this to where this movie is the real universe in which the Pooh movies are happening. And that the story we saw in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is actually just a movie based on the events that took place before Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, which is very convoluted. But that's why things look different and they don't address it. That's why the story elements are different and they don't address it. is that it's an actual part of the story. That the first movie we watched is just a movie based on these fictionalized events that take place before this movie. That's also why in this movie they are watching Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 at one point. And it's not even the actual Pooh, Blood and Honey 1. It's a weird version of it. It's the movie, but they add some lines. Winnie the Pooh in Blood and Honey 1, according to this movie, when he kills all the people in the house, he says, it's Poobin time or whatever. It's Poonin time. And he has lightning powers. I don't remember that from the first one. Did he have lightning powers in that? That was just the bee powers, right? He had the magic bee powers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why they had that scene in this movie, they added fictional scenes to the fictional movie that we already watched. And that's why Pooh had that design in that version of things, is because that's like, oh, that's the fake movie version of Pooh. Now this is real Pooh. And that's also why Piglet's alive in this movie, at least for a little bit, is because Piglet didn't actually die in the events before this movie. The movie version of Piglet died. So while that's dumb, it's kind of a smart way to retcon your crazy little murder Pooh universe. And plus, you got the movie line, it's Poonin time. Which I do remember when Jastin watched this movie, he texted me just saying that's the greatest line that's ever been said in a movie. Jastin, why are you looking at
you?
Jastin, you literally said that's your new catchphrase for life.
Real quick, I did look it up.
Just no.
It's the thing they say in this movie is it's pooing time.
Whatever. I don't care that much.
Yeah.
Jastin, what are your thoughts? Since you're looking at me like you're weird. Remember we started this saying we listen and we don't judge? I don't think you held up to that, Jastin. What are your thoughts?
Too late. It's I mean, I guess the best thing I can say about it is that that extra $300,000 or $400,000 that they got to make this movie, you do see it. It looks better than the first movie. There are some scenes that have cinematography, and there was a hallway scene with lighting and stuff where they were doing some stuff with Pooh. I think some of the kills were a little more creative in this movie. Some of the stuff he was doing with the bear trap was actually he was having fun with that bear trap. So that some of that stuff, I didn't hate all of that stuff. It definitely has a much better story. It's not a good story, but it is a better one. It's more cohesive. There's more happening with the character of Christopher Robin, and this Christopher Robin is a better actor than what they had before. His friends and his father and these people are better actors than anybody that was in the first movie. So, like, if you look at it as a comparison to the first movie, it improves on the first movie in just about every way. So I will give the movie that. I think the biggest problem with this, though, is that it's tonally, I think is Pooh's biggest problem. It's trying to be campy, then it's trying to be serious, then it's trying to be melodramatic, then it's trying to be meta, then it's trying to be just fucking pick something.
Oh yeah, you are 100% right in that. This movie tonally is just a fucking Jackson Pollock painting. It's just splatters of shit all over the place.
Yeah. And I think and I hate that I'm saying this, but maybe if you choose a lane, a way that which you want this to be, a style of which you want this to be. Do you want this to be dark, serious? We are trying to scare the shit out of you, Pooh killing people? Or do you want this to be some campy shit like that, campy slasher, and we lean into the comedy of it? But you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I feel like this tried. And so what you get is a bunch of things that are just, you get a bunch of things that it is trying to do well. And in the end, we do nothing well enough.
Nope.
And so that's the biggest problem with this movie. But the one positive thing I can say about it is that it is better than the first one in just about every way. Other than maybe like the opening scene at the beginning of the movie, the first one, but just the art style of it and how it looked, that might be about the only thing I can say is better in the first movie than this one. But they did some of the artwork stuff in this one, and it was fine in this one too. But like, but comparably to the first one, this is better in every way, and that extra money did help. So I don't know, maybe we can get another extra $400,000 for the next movie, and it'll probably be better than this one, just because it seems like these people can do more with more money.
Dude, but by the time we get to Pooh, Blood, and Honey 15, it's going to be fucking fantastic.
Maybe so. Maybe by the 15th attempt, we will have landed on something.
Oh, yeah. They'll have all the money in the world, and they'll just be pumping out just Criterion level movies. Just, they're going to replace the 1001 movies you must see before you die with just Pooh movies at that point. Because they'll be just utterly perfection by that point. Like, if you just increase the quality of your movie, just this amount every movie, just 13 more movies, you got it.
Yeah, maybe by the time we get to what is it called? The Pooniverse. Maybe it'll be like watching Infinity War or the first Avengers movie by then. Maybe. But all jokes aside, that's the biggest problem with this movie though. You're watching these scenes and these people are acting and they're not doing that bad at acting, and you're going, why is the acting this good? Like, why is it? Like, why is it this good? It does everything you showed me before doesn't justify the acting being this good. Like it shouldn't be as good.
Like, we all have to admit the kid that plays Christopher Robin in this was unjustifiably almost fantastic.
He was really good, honestly. He was really good.
Yeah, and that's why, like, you're watching this acting and you're watching this drama, and he's having conversations with his father or with his friend, and the acting is not that bad. But then the next scene is just some crazy shit happening that's campy or meta or that's just, like, so it's just, or you get to this scene and this man is talking about how this whole thing happened, and he tells this just dare I say, engrossing story about how all of this came about. And it's very dramatic and it's very like heavy and it's very dark. But then the next scene is we're in a club fucking throwing half naked people around and shit. Like, I just don't think this movie, and I think that's just the victim of trying to do all of these things well, but in an attempt to make this stuff work together, it's all working against each other. And I think is the best way to say it. And so that's ultimately the problem.
I think you really nail it though, Jastin, because where the tonal shifts come from is almost every scene when it's people talking to people. It's a very serious movie. anytime Pooh and the gang are on the screen, it's a silly, campy movie.
Yeah.
And they don't find a way to bridge those two properly. And when you go from scenes of people talking to Al regurgitating stomach acid onto a man, and then back to a serious moment, and then Pooh is decapitating a woman with a bear trap and then baseballing her head into an explosion over people, it does feel disjointed. Because you were going from so serious to just some of the goofiest fun bullshit you've seen. And it's jarring. It doesn't feel natural in those instances when it doesn't, because there's no gap. Like there's no bridge over those gaps.
Yeah. It's weird to be sitting there hearing what is a serious conversation about somebody's mental health and what they're going through, and piece by piece, you got to dig through this. And if you do that, you can iron through what your trauma and what's really wrong with you and everything. And you're hearing this very serious, very like emotional conversation about mental health. And then the next scene is an owl and a bear man talking, going, "We need to kill everybody." You know, it's just, it's so, this movie is weird as fuck. But I don't know. And maybe if you're into that, cool. I mean, you know, some people like this, like off balance shit, you know? So I don't know, maybe there'll be some people that'll be feeling this, but yeah, that's the problem with it for me, man. It's just very, very, very unbalanced with what it's trying to do.
I think what helps is you have to create these weird mental barriers when you're watching this movie, to where you use your serious movie like section of your brain just during the people scenes. And then you have to just switch to your stupid, silly slasher brain on the fly. You just have to be sitting there watching this and click back and forth.
Yep.
And that at least makes it what I call bearable. Like I said, not good, but bearable. And no, that's not a Winnie the Pooh pun. But it's just, you brought it up though, Jastin. Like, it really is. Christopher Robin is doing some serious acting. And also, where the fuck did they find that janitor guy? Because I'm just like, are you weirdly the best acting janitor ever in a movie? Outside of the one time Louis Gossett was a janitor? Like, Louis Gossett Jr.
out of all
was a
the
janitor.
janitors that you corner and get answers from, he might be the best one.
Yeah. And then you go to Owl. Oh my God. I loved the Owl character, and I hate that I love him. And it really is because it tickled that itch I have in my brain for just bonkers overacting. And that's all Owl did this whole movie. Is just monologue over the movie. In the booth, this man is overacting in the booth, doing vocal narrations. How do you achieve that? I mean, this man felt like he was so in the process of overacting. Did it not feel like he was dressing up like Owl to go do his voiceover work?
Totally. Yeah.
Probably.
He's like, I have to manifest this character. And then, Justin, but like, the end of this movie, I know we're not in spoilers yet. I don't care. When he's like, you don't understand, Christopher Robin. The secret of our power is friendship. What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
It's not where I expected that to go.
I'm not going to lie, though. It intrigued the fuck out of me. I'm there for it. I don't know why. I hate that I am. But like I said, it was tickling that overacting because he's all dipping his hand in the honey. And he's just like, I thought he was going to say, you don't understand the secret of our power. And that he was going to pour honey on Pooh. That's what I thought was going to happen. But that
That's
motherfucker,
what I thought too.
that motherfucker busted out friendship. Jastin, have you ever heard a villain ever said his secret power is friendship?
No.
You still got to have that wholesome ending for those kids, you know?
I don't know what that was. That was just the secret sauce for me. For whatever reason, I just dug the fuck out of that. He's all friendship. And I was like,
I did not see that coming. That was when I didn't see that coming. Maybe in the Care Bears or in the, but
Jastin, I mean, you can't tell me that wasn't perfect foreshadowing because we've seen enough movies. We know friendship is unstoppable.
Yep.
This town is fucked. I didn't know they had the power of friendship on their side. Thanos might have the Infinity Gauntlet. These motherfuckers have friendship.
Telling you. That's why and that's planting that seed, because that's what we're building to. The ultimate friendship team, brother. That's what we're building to, man. So you have to plant that shit up. You have to plant that shit. You have to put that shit in the earth so it can start to grow.
Yeah, it's going to be a redwood by the time this Poohniverse comes out.
I'm telling you, because they will be getting some more money. So
how are they making
money's coming, brother?
How are they making
cash
movies
is coming, brother?
That are they cost hundreds of thousands and then they just go millions, please, on that box office? They just turn around millions. When just and the sad thing is 1 million would still be successful. And they're going, no. We need more millions. And they get it.
I was so shocked when I saw that the first movie only cost $100,000 and they made $7 million. So when this idea was first announced and you were telling us about this, because you had been up on the news of this, and when I first heard the idea, I was like, this is the dumbest idea ever. And now this motherfucker is looking like a genius. Like, he has spent $500,000 and he has made $14 million.
Fantastic return on investment.
He is a genius.
We're getting a minimum 3 more of these this year too.
And when he got more money, he made a better film.
Yes.
So he might actually be good.
What
Maybe
happens
he
when
just
this
doesn't have the money or the resources to be good?
What happens when this man just spends $1 million on a movie? Holy shit.
I know. We might actually get a good one. Like this guy might actually be good. Maybe we just don't know. He just don't have any money yet, man. He's just still hustling right now.
Oh, man. Oh, bother. Are you done, Jastin? I feel like I cut you off. All right. Mather, what about you?
I mean, yeah, we listen and we don't judge. I'm actually glad that you went first, Sterling, with it, because I was like, am I going to be the only one that didn't hate this movie? Because I didn't. I really didn't think it was all that bad. And I'm very aware of the fact that my opinion of this film is severely hinging on just how bad the first one was. And so I'm so massively impressed at how much they improved on everything in this movie that it kind of convinced me this is actually not a bad movie. But I mean, looking back, obviously it's not a good movie. But I don't hate this movie. The story of this one, I think you guys kind of already said it, it's kind of like a night and day difference as far as the story they're telling and the way that they tell it. And legitimately, like, at some points, I kind of liked the story they were telling. I kind of liked where they were going with some of the stuff with it, and like, it's, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those movies that I can appreciate what it is, given I know its limitations and like the reputation of the first one and all of that. It just, honestly, it didn't have a right to be that much better than the first one. And I'm really like happy, I guess, about how much better it was, which again, it doesn't take much to be better than the first one, but it wasn't even just like, oh yeah, they slightly did better because they added a few characters. No, it was just like you said, Jastin, like in every conceivable way, they just improved everything with this one. And like, I liked the creative choice they made to explain the first one, with how like that's just a film of what happened. And I don't know, I can accept that based on like at least what the story that they gave us. And is it good? Not quite. But it's honestly not the worst horror film or film in general that I've seen this year. And I kind of have to commend it for that. And kind of, again, what we talked about, like the acting was leaps and bounds better in this one than the first one. Leaps and bounds better. Because like we said, the Christopher Robin guy, I genuinely, it's not even just like, oh, he was good for what this movie was. I actually think if he was in other stuff, I would be like, he's just a good actor. He actually was just very good, in my opinion. And even the girl, the girl that he liked, or his friend, or whoever she was, she wasn't bad either. Like conversations they had, it was good,
Yeah, her name was Lexi.
Lexi, yes. I think her name, I looked up the cast. I think her first name in real life is Tallulah, which is kind of cool. But
why the fuck do I remember Lexi, but I don't remember a single fucking name from Nosferatu?
Because you were hinging on the originals of that too much. But yeah, like it just, the acting was, it was more believable, and they actually felt like real people. Like it felt like real conversations people would have in a way, or at least believable conversations that people would have. And yeah, I think that that made me enjoy this film more because of that. I mean, way better effects, way better film quality. The look of the creatures, kind of like what you said earlier, Sterling, like it's just, it doesn't like take you out of the movie for any reason like the first one does in that way. Like you're kind of like, okay, cool. Like this looks way better. It's like that kid that you're proud of. You're just like, it's not perfect, but good job. You did better than you did last time. Like it's kind of like that mentality with this movie. And again, I also agree. I think that they did have some kind of interesting kills in this one. And like the gore and the violence perspective, it was more enjoyable in that way, I guess I would say. They add the new characters, of course, like we talked about with like Tigger and Owl. They bring more dynamics to this movie, I guess. And they make some choices with these creatures. Some of them are improvements. Some of them could have been executed better, but it at least makes the movie better because of it. But honestly, yeah, like when it comes down to it, like I just had more fun with this movie than the first one. And I've had more fun than like, kind of like what you said, Sterling, like I had more fun at this than I did at Craven. I had more fun than I did at Borderlands. Like, you can't tell me that Christopher Robin is not like acting far better than anybody that was in Borderlands. And those are some Oscar winning people. And Christopher Robin was just acting way better than anybody that was in Borderlands at any given point. So yeah, like I feel like it's one of those movies where I liked it because of how much they improved it, But is it something I would say, oh, I really think that this is like a top movie for me? Of course not. But it was a somewhat okay movie because of how much they improved everything.
Oh, man. You guys, recommendations and scores? I forgot what fucking section we're on.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Recommendations and score.
All right, Heather, what you got?
I mean, it's a hard question to answer for this one if you recommend it. Like in a general world of people, like I'm not going to sit there and be like, yes, you definitely need to see this, but kind of like, especially if you saw the first one, I would be like, you have to see the second one because you have to see how much better it is than the first one in every regard. And it's just such a like out there premise and off the wall movie that if you like horror and you like campy horror, I think you would enjoy this to a certain extent. So it really just depends on if that's your type of vibe of movie. And if it's not, then completely stay away from it altogether. It's a very like harsh this or that with this movie for sure. But I mean, as far as my score goes, I'm honestly like, we listen and we don't judge. I'm going to give this movie 47 rave party lock-ins out of 100.
Jastin, what about you?
Yeah. I'd still like to see more from these Pooh movies. Maybe the third time will be a charm, and by the time we've gotten a little more money, we can kind of figure out what kind of style of this we want to do. And maybe we can add some things that'll actually make it kind of that I think will make it at least what I would call a decent film. But I still think we're trying to get there. I mean, this is better than the first movie, but there's still a lot that's left to be desired just with how it tells the story. It's balancing and everything like that. I just still don't, I think it just has a lot of trouble balancing when it wants to be fun, when it wants to be serious, when it wants to be, and it's just not quite there yet. It's like that person practicing something and you're seeing signs that the person is improving, but we still don't have a winning formula. We still don't have what I think is I say it's not a winning formula. I mean, it's making money. So, I mean, they think they have a winning formula. Maybe they do. But what I mean is just a cohesive narrative and story structure and characters. I think we still have a ways before I'm like invested in this like I am in other movies and films and things that have part 2s and part 3s and stuff like that. I still think we're a ways from what this could be. But I did like this taking steps forward. I definitely saw improvement and I will give it credit for that. But I mean, do you have to go see this? If this is somebody who hasn't seen these movies, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, go watch that. I mean, I ain't the one, what y'all can do that. It ain't good enough for me to say I recommend it to someone. But I just feel like if you saw the first one and you were cool with it, then I don't think there's a reason why you wouldn't like this one. Because it is just better than that movie. I mean, it's just all over the place. It is just better than that movie. I mean, you might have an occasional person that might be like, man, what happened to the stupidity of the first one? So I hate this one. It's too, they improved it too much that to where it is unlike the first one in every way. So they might feel like it's a betrayal of the first one. Who knows? You might have somebody on that side of the spectrum. But overall, I just think that if you like the first one, yeah, you'll probably like this one. But you don't have to rush to see any of this shit. I mean, it's fine. It'll be okay if you miss it. We'll give it 40. Breaking a person's arms and legs and then clamping their face in half with the bear trap out of 100.
I recommend it, but I also don't. I mean, I don't know how better to put that. I do, but I don't. Like, I want to, because like I said, I had fun. But it is also still very bad. Like, so do I want to taint my credibility and say, yes, you should watch it? I don't know if I can. But I had fun. And I didn't hate it. So I do. I recommend it, but I also don't. Whatever mood you're in, just go with that. This movie is streaming on Peacock. So if you want to, then do it. If you don't, then don't. That's how I'll put it. I'm going to split the difference between you guys, but not completely in Jastin's favor. I'm going to give it a 45. 45. I love that they brought in Tigger and Al. I dug that. I shouldn't have, but I did. CineScores is a 44, which I think it's still leaps and bounds. I think we gave the first one a negative 200.
Yeah, it was like negative something. I think I gave it like a 0, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So this is better. This is leaps and bounds better, people.
Way better than the first one.
And that's not a Tigger pun. Spoilers?
Yep.
Yes.
Spoilers.
I mean, is there spoilers? It's fucking a Winnie the Pooh horror movie, people. Like, what the fuck are you expecting? I mean, I guess I'm torn because I like the fact that the kids are all the creatures are genetic experiments. I like that. But also I did kind of dig the idea that they were just real and went feral because Christopher Robin abandoned them. I like that too. But I think that the way they implemented the new story changes in this one, with the better production value and the better costumes and the better acting and the better everything, it does work better in this, though. The new story makes it works better because of what they were able to add to it. I weirdly dug Tigger saying bitch a lot. Because Tigger, anytime he said anything, was like, I'm going to slash you, bitch. I'm a Tigger, bitch. It was just very weird. Like, I didn't like it the first time he said it. But the more he kept saying it, it grew on me. Like,
I did laugh when he was like, dance, bitch.
Yeah, it was just silly. He just started saying bitch so much. But I also love the idea that these creatures, which apparently that are fueled by friendship, were so still off-put by Tigger that they lock him away because he's that big of a fucking sociopath, or that he's just that crazy or jumps around too much that they're like, motherfucker, stay over there. We can't deal with all this jumping. And I like that little bit of lore with that. I don't know. I just love the fact that like the characters kind of felt closer to the versions of what we knew them as kids. Like Al was the smart one. Al was, you know, he was the one talking the most, and he was the one giving us the most exposition, and he was the one that was explaining things to Pooh and Tigger and them. You know what I mean? Like he was the one so that kind of weirdly fit. Tigger being the frantic one that made weird bouncing puns and, you know, all that stuff that weirdly fits. Piglet being the little bitch that dies first, it weirdly fits. And then Pooh just kind of being there. Because let's be realistic about Winnie the Pooh. He's just kind of there a lot. And this movie kind of captures that just a little bit better than it used to. Or than the first one did. I shouldn't say than it used to. Than the first one did. Like I said, the costumes and the character design is just so much better in this movie. It doesn't look like people in cheap ass Halloween masks. It looks like people in cheap ass prosthetics. But you know what? Prosthetics are better than cheap masks. Just the fact that like Pooh had like claws and was more bear-like. It really does change it tonally. Because I know like you were talking about tonally this movie's all over the place, Jastin, but I still think that tonality works better in this movie because it's not serious, but it looks like a joke. You know what I mean? Because that's one of the worst things about the first one is they took the first one so serious, but it looks like a joke because it just looks like people in costumes. So you get that disconnect of them wanting it to be serious, but the acting is just dumb and the characters look dumb. And so you never reach any sense of tonality in that movie because it never lines up. This one, at least the reason why it can suffer from tonal issues is because it actually establishes tonality. So as bad as that was, it's because the movie's better that it's a problem. Because if they kept the same character designs, I don't care how serious any of those scenes got. The second you saw Pooh's face, you were done. The second you saw his stupid gloved fucking hands grabbing somebody, you were done. You know what I mean? Like you would have never latched onto anything. So I think it's kind of interesting that they weirdly created more of a problem because they were just doing better. Like it's a weird catch-22 with this movie. Like we've said, the kid playing Christopher Robin, he was doing his best Get Out impression when he was in those hypnotism scenes. He did a good job on those. And Jastin, just so you know, the reason why I'm looking forward to Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare is because it is written and directed by Christopher Robin from this movie. And he's at least shown he knows how to do stuff. So I'm going to give it a chance. Now, the biggest drawback for those movies is they're in this universe, but we've got no connections to them yet. Because I think if this was the first Pooh, Blood and Honey was this movie, I think I would have been harsher on it. The reason why this one feels better and why I probably don't hate it and all of those things is because it gets that contrast with how spectacularly bad the first one was. I mean, the first one is bad on levels I couldn't even imagine before we watched it. Or before I watched it, because I watched it months before you guys. And I think that, like Heather said, I think this one benefits just from how bad the first one is. That you just make a vaguely competent movie. And you're just like, okay, improvement, cool. You know, it becomes the poster child for try again. Eventually you'll get there. Just keep working at it. Eventually you'll make a movie that doesn't suck. Just in what universe are we in that it's Pooh, Blood, and Honey that I'm just like, hopefully it's the little engine that could. Because this year we've got Peter Pan, Neverland Nightmare. We've got Bambi Unleashed. We've got Pinocchio Unstrung. And we've got Poohniverse, Something the Monsters. Oh no, I feel bad. I feel so bad that I don't remember the tagline for the Poohniverse. I feel really, really shitty that I don't remember that. And I feel even shittier that it's taking me so long to find this. And it is called, I'm sorry, it's Bambi the Reckoning. Oh man. So it's Bambi the Reckoning, Pinocchio Unstrung, Peter Land's Neverland Nightmare, and then it's Poohniverse Monsters Assemble. There's also a movie called Awakening Sleeping Beauty coming out. And apparently Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3 is in pre-production. I mean, so let's be honest, people. This is the year of the Poohniverse. Calling it now. The year of the Poohniverse. By 2026, we'll have one Poohniverse movie at least. They were like, that was pretty good, guys. Pretty good. One. At least one. I mean, in Pinocchio Unstrung, we're getting Robert Englund. Freddy Krueger himself.
Really?
As Jiminy Cricket. As the Conscience. We get Freddy Krueger as the Conscience.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, I see it. You're getting goosebumps. You're getting the tingles of anticipation.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, I can see them. You're doing little shivers. You're like, ooh, the anticipation. You've just got Tim Curry in your head going anticipation. What was it? Oh, from Rocky Horror, the anticipation thing.
Oh, yeah.
I already butchered it. But no, there are some fun kills in this. I really love that Winnie the Pooh in this movie sets it up to where he is strong enough to tip a Winnebago by himself. But then as the movie goes, he finds reasons to use weapons. Even though he can just punch through people. He does it. At one point in this movie, he punches a fucking person's face in. But the next person he kills, he goes, you know what? I ain't gonna punch him. I'm gonna pick this drill up that's just here and drill their face. And then the next person, he's like, I'm going to use a 2x4. And then the next person, I'm going to use a chainsaw. I just like the fact that Winnie the Pooh is so dedicated to the art of killing people that he doesn't rest on his laurels and just do only what he's good at. He keeps trying new ways to murder innocent bystanders. Unlike Tigger, who just slashes. All Tigger did was slash. And all Owl did was regurgitate stomach acid like a vulture, which is rather confusing because is he an owl or is he a vulture? I need this explanation. Now, the sad thing is they actually set it up in universe for an explanation. Because who's to say when this mad scientist was grafting avian DNA onto a child that he didn't mix owl and vulture? They weirdly have an in-universe explanation of how it can be both. And that's sadly more forethought than some movies we've seen. Looking at you, Rhino. Looking at you. Jastin, what you got?
Yeah. So, where to start? I mean, I guess I'll start with I didn't hate the sort of opening of this where they sort of position what the characters are doing and everything. I like the fact that Christopher Robin was struggling because all of these people sort of looked at him as, is he the person that caused this 100-acre massacre in the first place? Is he someone that contributed to this and everything? You know, is he a person that should be locked up somewhere because he's complicit in this or in some kind of way? Or, you know, can we trust him? So him trying to be a nurse and trying to be a doctor and trying to help people and stuff seemed that seemed okay for him. But I like how there was this whole thing of the townspeople not trusting him and townspeople wondering if, especially then when murders start to happen again, and townspeople are wondering, does he have something to do with this? And they weren't wrong. Some of this is about Christopher Robin, but he's not the culprit. So I kind of like the position of that. I like that he was actually going to therapy and trying to, because after experiencing all of that trauma, it would make sense that a person might be doing that. So, you know, not every decision that this was making was necessarily a bad one. There was an aftermath to what happened in that first movie. There's a film that's being made that chronicles, or it was a horror movie based on the events that happened. And then you had people who were all on this thing of, and they never found Pooh and the gang because they fled. So there were people that were like, well, is Christopher Robin telling the truth or not? You know, there are all these bodies, but we didn't find the actual Pooh crew. So not all of that was bad. But again, we're starting with this very thought out kind of serious lore and story. But I think for what this is, it should have started sillier than this. It should have started, you know, I don't like the seriousness of this story.
Would the movie have been a little better if the actor that played Christopher Robin was a little worse?
Yeah, it probably would have. Or maybe he's in therapy, but you sprinkle in some, you know, maybe there's some cheesiness about it, or some, or like some. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Just, you know, I don't know. I just wonder if maybe if you had just had the story on paper and said, okay, how can we cheese it up? How can we make it a little more campy? How can we make it a little more how do we make it fit?
Not take itself so seriously.
Yeah. How do we do that? How do we take this story? Okay, we have a story. And I feel like they just went, it's good, put it in there. But I think you have it, and then you have to go, okay, how do we make it match the tone of everything else we have? And I just don't feel like that was done. I just feel like they said these are good ideas, so they're going to be in the film. But I think you needed to dress those ideas a certain way. So anyway, you know, we're going on with this story. We're meeting his friends and everything. And like I said, nobody is doing bad acting. Nobody is, you know, it just seems like a regular story of this person trying to overcome his trauma, and he's going to therapy and he's trying to have a job, but there's pressure on him to quit, or should he quit and stuff like that. And then he's got a friend, and the friend is like, I've been your friend for a long time and I believe you, and I know nobody else does, but if you need something, I'm here for you. And I'm like, what the fuck is all of this? Like,
Would it be fair to say they like overcorrected maybe?
yeah, it just doesn't fit. Like it just I get that, and it's weird to complain about it, but I feel like the complaint is warranted because everything you showed me in the first movie and everything that happens when Pooh is on screen doesn't fit. Like it felt like this was another film. Like it should have been on something else. And I just couldn't get past that. So then by the time we do get to Pooh and everything, I didn't even really hate the fact that I think another problem with Pooh and the crew is what are they trying to do? They need to have a goal of some sort. They need to be doing something. They need to have a plan. They need to be.
The story from the first one works a little better because they went so feral and they just started hating humanity.
Yes, and they vowed never to speak again, and say fuck it, we're just going to be animals and kill people. That worked, but at least, like you're saying, as far as motive and what they're doing here, I don't really understand what they are trying to do. I mean, maybe you could argue they were just trying to survive. They were running away from these angry people in the woods, but then you kind of had Al over here going, man, we need to quit running from them. We need to kill them. So what are we going to do, Pooh? We just need to kill everybody. And they kind of were doing that. I mean, nobody was living that they were interacting with, really. So, but the problem is I just don't understand what they're trying to do.
I think
are we running and fleeing? Are we trying to survive? Are we trying to kill humanity? Are we trying to take revenge on Christopher Robin? But it felt like this movie just wanted them to do all of it. So again, that's a narrative issue for me.
I think it boils down to in the movie when it's the recording of the geneticist that did all that shit, and he's like, oh, they're just becoming too feral, too violent. Like they're just too aggressive. They want to kill. So I have to kill them. I think that's what they were trying to do with part of that scene is just go, they're just killing machines. That's just why they are the way they are. They just want to kill. Or at least that was his observation of them. You know what I mean? And so I think it's one of those things that like that was what they were trying to maybe even set up at the end of this is that while they were killing all these people and doing all this stuff, that there was the argument of maybe they do have some humanity left because Pooh remembered who he was and stuff and like little things like that I think they were trying to bring into it. And I think they just weirdly got, as for an hour and a half movie, they just kind of got bogged down with trying to do too much. They wanted the geneticist revealed, and they wanted him Pooh to remember who he was, and they wanted this person to remember this, and they wanted Tigger to do this, and they wanted Al to do this, and you know what I mean? They just kind of layered a little too much of it on there, to where your rationale for why the gang is why they are is just buried in one line that's given as they're, all this other shit's happening.
Yeah. And so, and I guess that's just why it's so confusing in nature, because whatever they are trying to do, let's state that. Let's have Al make a mission statement and let's do that. If you're going to have a spokesman, let the spokesman tell us, okay, this is what we're trying to do, and do it. Like, if you're going to be killer machines, Al can just say, let's set up somewhere where we can fucking kill everybody. Or he can just be flapping his gums and going, let's kill them all or something. Let's just decide and do it. Or do we want this to be like what Sterling is talking about, where they are becoming more violent and killing and stuff, but there is some shred of humanity still. And that's why And I think that's what they want. I mean, that's why he kind of has this connection to Christopher Robin. That's why him and Christopher Robin are still tied together. Like Heather alluded to earlier, it's obvious that Christopher Robin is his brother. So maybe there is something there with that. Maybe there's something that's there. But like you're saying, Sterling, the problem though is that when Pooh is killing and everything, it's pretty relentless and it's so over the top and it's so just, I am a killing machine. It's a little weird when suddenly we don't want to kill a child, or we look at a picture and there's some shred of humanity. You got to plant those seeds throughout the narrative, not just when it's convenient for this scene. You know, if you're building to that, let's do it. Or if we're not building to that, let's not do it. You know, I just want this shit to pick a lane and decide and just be decisive and confident in whatever artistically you are trying to do. So there's a part of this to me that doesn't feel very genuine because I am picking up on the lack or on the indecisiveness of your narrative. So those are just bothersome things. But it felt like when it wasn't trying to do all of those things, when the film is decisive, it's very decisive. It was very decisive about these things when they kill. And all of the killing stuff I thought was good. You know, one time a person's arm was put through their mouth, and like they're doing all of these creative things when it comes to killing. And some of that stuff was fun. I kind of like Pooh with this bear trap, lugging it around and doing all of this shit. I don't know. That's a little different. You know, I hope they keep that because that makes him kind of a distinct killer from, you know, Freddy has his claw, Jason has a machete, Pooh has his bear trap. You know, it's kind of, I thought that was a nice touch for him. I think there were bear traps in the first one, but I did like the way he was lugging this around and throwing it and using it like how Spawn throws his chain out and shit like that. I loved the bear trap kill into the get over here baseball splat. I thought that was actually one of the coolest kills of the movie.
That motherfucker looked like a scorpion fatality.
Yep. And yep, it was that. It was he scorpion speared him, and then he became Otani or something and just knocked the head out of the park, so to speak.
I mean, I could have sworn that is an actual scorpion fatality though, where he like spears the head, pulls it off, and then like cuts it with a sword or something as it's flying back, or kicks it or something. I want to say Mortal Kombat 10.
You might be right about that. It did seem straight out of something of Mortal Kombat. So yeah, you know, so that's just the thing. Like all of this stuff is happening, and the main thing that was bothering me is just how unbalanced it all seemed. And then we get to that janitor, and what's the name of that actor? I couldn't find him in here
because they don't have his name as janitor, so you actually have to remember what his character was called, which I don't think they say his name. Because
Cavendish was the doctor. Or was Cavendish the janitor?
I think Cavendish was the doctor that fires him.
Okay.
No, like just looking at his picture on IMDb, Cavendish was the janitor.
Okay, him.
Okay.
Well,
there you go.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. Simon Callow. When it got to that scene where Christopher Robin faces him, and he's telling that horrifying story about them being buried and what the doctor was doing and the tape recordings. And so he followed the doctor and tried to confront the doctor and then wound up killing the doctor. All of that was a very cool story. I mean, he was expositing that and he was acting his ass off in that scene. I was actually impressed by his acting. But this is another thing of that was such an incredible story. You gotta let us see some of that. Like it was too incredible,
Dude,
to not be seen.
You know what opportunity they missed with that?
Yeah.
While he's telling the story, and even while the doctor's telling the story, do that hand-drawn animation.
Yes, they could have done that. That would have been tight. But like, that was an incredible story. And it needed to be seen and not just heard.
Dude,
Though,
now that I think about it, why the fuck are they doing any flashback scenes or any narration about the past and not doing that hand-drawn animation?
yeah, that should just be
That's the best.
what happens.
Like,
And also it gets you don't have to then have children being buried and shit. You know, some of the imagery of that might be a bit much to have child actors
definitely
being buried alive and shit.
But think about how much cooler young Pooh would have looked like that.
Yeah.
And I'm even talking about the scenes when he's in therapy and remembering his like trauma and remembering his party and his hand draw all that. That's such a cool style the way they do it, because it's very much the old illustrative style from the Winnie the Pooh books. Just do that. It makes it that much better. And like you said, you get a little bit more freedom having all these like kid animals getting shot and buried. And it's just hand drawn. You don't get the imagery of killing children, which is one of those things that always ends up working better in horror movies when you don't do stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only time
it would have
I'm
been so cool to see that illustrated, them coming out of the ground where they were buried and all of that kind of stuff. It would have just been really neat to see that done that way. So yeah, I totally agree. We could have used some illustrations there, but my hats off to Simon Callow. He had to say a lot. I mean, literally, we are watching him on camera exposit that entire shit. And he did a great job with his acting.
Oh man, when he's sitting there like
through every part of it, like he really seemed like he was reliving all of that all the guilt and blame that came with it.
When he's doing that whole thing of like, ultimately, it made me a monster.
Yeah.
You're like, holy fuck. He did such a good job with that. And it's just right after that, it's Pooh going on a rampage on a rave.
Yeah. So, without saying, and even some of that rave stuff was kind of fun. Like that hallway scene I was talking about, where it was flashing and then it was getting dark. And as it was flashing, Pooh was getting closer to them. They were actually doing some cool stuff with the shots and the cinematography and stuff. I thought that was actually a pretty cool looking scene.
Ooh.
So
go ahead. That one kill scene when they're still in that warehouse and stuff like that. Like I said, that like Pooh turns on a furnace because the guy tries to hide in the furnace, turns it on, burns that man, turns to another woman, punches her face in, walks 3 feet, grabs a person, drills their head, and then like turns around, sees somebody around the corner, goes and just I forget how he kills that woman. I was like, it was a very like well done kind of sequence of just murders.
Yeah, like he's hella resourceful when it comes to murdering people. I mean, he's super resourceful, but I still want the bear claw, the bear trap to be like a staple. We got to at least kill 5 or more people with that, and then he can use whatever else. We can start adding other appliances, lawnmowers, just whatever he can get his hands on. But
like you said, lawnmowers. I want to see him drown somebody in honey.
That would be cool. Also, it's called Blood and Honey. Not much honey in the movie.
Really not. Now, which is a very stark contrast from the first movie, where they got weirdly pornographic with the honey.
Yeah, it was hella honey in that.
And he's just like, He's like,
And I
rubbing
get
it.
that. I love honey.
Yeah,
you know?
but did you not feel like in that movie that Pooh eats it and also masturbates with it? It was very like unsettling. And I don't mean that in the good way, that sometimes a horror movie can unsettle you. It wasn't
Yeah.
that. And in this movie, the only honey we get was the honey of friendship at the end.
Yeah. The friendship honey is pretty much what we got. So that was just weird. There wasn't enough honey in it. I mean, I don't want him orgasming, but a little more honey next time. It's going to be in the title. I expect blood. I got plenty of that, but I was a little low on honey. And I eat honey with my pancakes. I don't like being low on it. I don't like it when I don't have enough for my pancakes, and I don't like it here. It just wasn't enough.
To be fair, Jastin, that's the first time I've heard you putting honey on pancakes.
Really?
Jastin, you
I
have to remember,
never did that at IHOP all them times.
Justin, you put half a fucking gallon of syrup
Yeah,
on your
I
pancakes.
would, dude. And the only reason why I wouldn't do that with honey is just because they come in those little packages. So that's arduous to do it with honey. But
it was
right.
always a game of roulette when you would go to a pancake establishment with Jastin on whether or not you would get any syrup.
Did I put that much?
Jastin,
Surely it wasn't that much.
Jastin, you get a short stack and use half a fucking container of syrup from IHOP, man. It was like I said, you would have to keep an eye out. Because when they'd come, like if they put the syrup down before the pancakes, you'd have to like just mid-conversation kind of just subtly move it over by you. So that way you could just put an appropriate amount of syrup. Because if you didn't get that before Jastin, you'd be having to ask that waitress for just more syrup and just have to wait and let your pancakes get cold while you're waiting on the syrup to come.
I would take it. I would take it.
I mean, to say
I
you would
enjoy
drown,
myself.
to say you would drown your pancakes in syrup is an understatement.
They're so good that way. I recommend it.
Justin, you
That's what I
put
recommend,
syrup on that
pancakes.
like you were trying
That's
to
what you
make
came
your
here for.
pancakes Atlantean pancakes. Just drowned.
This is really making me want pancakes, and I'm upset about that. But yeah, just more honey next time, please. There was something I really wanted to say, and now I can't remember because now all I can think about is pancakes. No, it was important. Okay, we talked about the rave. We talked about all that stuff. Oh yeah, Tigger. I'm on the other side of you, man. I wasn't a fan of Tigger. I wanted him to be bouncier. I wanted him to be crazier.
That's
I wanted
fair.
him to be more laughy. I wanted him to be more like that.
I do agree 100%.
The slashing was the zaniest he got, but I needed him to be just off the fucking wall. Like he could have been the craziest, laughingest, most killingest one. I think he needed to really be more. So I wasn't with the bitch this and bitch that and dance bitch and all of that kind of stuff. If you're going to do that, okay, but the dance bitch, I mean, how many other horror turkeys and everything else has sounded like that and said that? That ain't cool no more.
Jastin, you can't sit there and reference the turkey from Thanksgiving and not understand why I wouldn't enjoy him saying dance bitch. I mean, come on. That's in my
what it
wheelhouse.
reminds me. It just reminds me of any time Leprechaun or half of these motherfuckers say bitch this and bitch that. Or if he's gonna do it, be jumping around, die bitch, or have a goofy laugh. I mean, that's Tigger.
I do agree.
You know what I'm saying? What
I
was
do
all
agree
that
with
shit?
the bouncing though, Justin, because there was that one scene where the final woman in that sequence was like up above him. I wanted him so bad just to bounce up there and like land on her and shit. I do agree 100% with that. And I think that's why they need like another 100,000.
I guess
So they
so,
can do
so
the
they can have a
bouncing.
real Tigger. Because he should have been the contrast to, because like Pooh is kind of the laid back, which is to his character. He's the more slower, plodding, methodical kind of, you know, I'm not reacting too much. I'm just killing people kind of person. Few
Until he
words.
bear
I'm
crawls
just,
down the
I'm
hallway.
chilling and I'm killing. But you need a contrast to that. You need and then
He
you
needs
have
to be
Al.
more unhinged. Yeah.
Yeah, way more unhinged.
I do 100%
way more
agree with that.
left than Pooh. You need the contrast to that. So,
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I thought it's like a good introduction. But I agree. I want more.
yeah,
I want more of that. Like, take what you
Yeah.
did in this, amplify it by 100 and go.
yep. So, but all in all, you know, you get to the end of this and what happens. And like the guy that played Christopher Robin, we all said it, but he acted very well. He did. Like this whole story of him trying to overcome this and then us finding more about them. And I agree, Sterling. I think I'm about where you are. I don't know if I liked them going feral and promising not to speak and just becoming these killers out of spite and out of anger and out of hatred and out of feeling of neglect. I don't know if that's a better story than them being these bioengineered things. I mean, maybe I'm right in the middle of that, where just depending on what scenes I get, but them being bioengineered things and being able to regenerate and come back does better justify them coming back in other movies. That's why Piglet can get his head blown off and come back. That's why Pooh can get his wig split and come back. You know, it helps it helps your narrative the way you have it. So I do like that. It's a smarter choice. I don't know. Maybe artistically, I like the other choice better. But
I like the
get it, though.
narrative possibilities of them being just feral, and I agree with the whole thing of them never talking again because they hate humanity. I loved that idea until Al was in this movie, because, like I said, Al was just narrating like a motherfucker, just doing soliloquies, just monologuing throughout this movie, and I dug it so much because he's just so over the top. That's why that's the only thing that makes me fine with them not talking, or like getting rid of the whole not talking rule, is just the exposition that just Al was narrating throughout the movie. And just like, you know, like, and it was some of the lowest common denominator stuff too. It's like when the cops are going in and he's like, yes, the pigs come to slaughter. And you know, it's so dumb. And then he's just like, what he called Lexi, what, a blit at one point. I don't know what the fuck that was, but that just sounds like some British fucking vulgarity if I ever heard it. But like, he's just saying shit. Like I just loved it. He wasn't even in that scene. He's just flying over and goes, "You're never gonna stop us, you blit," or whatever the fuck he says, and then flies off. He disappears till the friendship scene. I'm like, why is he just letting Pooh get killed? He just fucking nopes the fuck out of the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I don't know, but like, but yeah, what you're saying with that whole thing, and I mean, maybe you couldn't have 4 or 5 movies of these people not talking. I mean, eventually, it's just going to be better if they are talking, and then maybe they can plan stuff and do stuff, and the more they talk, the more interesting they're probably going to become. You know, how many silent but violent movies could you do with them? Plus, it'll be easier for them to have different personalities and
that's where
shit like that.
That's where you get that idea, because it works as the silent people when it's just a Jason or just a Michael Myers. It works a little bit when it's just a Pooh and just a Piglet. But you're adding Tigger, you're adding Al. You know we're getting fucking Eeyore. We're gonna get, I don't know, the kangaroo fuck. We're gonna get some more people.
Oh, kangaroo! Oh God!
You can't have no one
Kangaroo is
talking.
going to kill people in horrible ways.
Oh, I can't wait for Eeyore.
Can you imagine the Roo?
What is
Can you
Eeyore gonna
imagine
do
what that
though?
Roo is gonna do?
Dude, think about Eeyore. If like Eeyore's gonna be the one that like somebody falls while they're running, and Eeyore's just gonna be just slowly creeping up on them, or like they're gonna be running from Pooh and turn the corner and just run into an Eeyore, and he's just gonna be so slow and just like trot up to you and just devour you.
And he's going to use his tail as a weapon for sure.
Oh man. But they're probably going to have him be more humanoid though. He probably won't be just straight donkey. He'll probably be humanoid donkey. Oh, you're so
But
right,
he will
Heather.
be an ass, so then you can do all sorts of ass jokes.
Oh, think about it though. What's going to happen
Ass
is somebody's
puns
going to
and
think
shit.
they're going to have a one up on him, and he's going to reach back and take his tail off and whip somebody's face off with his tail. And
Yeah,
he's just going to be like, oh man. Whip. Did you at least like the oh bother, Jastin, right before he got, as you so aptly said, his wig split?
yes, because I got why he said it, and so and I mean, and so at the end it leaves more for them to do. We can dive into this brother relationship. They could still be coming after Christopher Robin. Like you said, there are characters we haven't added yet. So there are still places for this to go. And then we got to do an Ultimate Marvel team up later on. So, as they develop more, they're going to talk more. They're going to have to communicate more and do more shit like that. And then we're going to have to meet up with these other characters. So, I mean, who knows, man? By that time, you might be making this with $1 million budget. You keep making money like this. So who knows, man? I'm not gonna say this discouraged me overall. I think seeing the improvement, it does encourage me. But every problem I think I have with this is a fixable one. You just gotta be more decisive of what you're doing. I think you'll get there.
That's fair. But that's also
I'm
time too, though. I mean,
Yeah.
This guy hasn't directed a lot of movies. He's produced a lot of movies. He hasn't directed a lot of movies. And so stuff like that, sometimes it just takes time.
Yeah, it's true. You got to find your stroke. You got to find the sweet spot. You got to figure out,
Yeah,
all
because
that
like,
good stuff.
why is it that like certain actors can like direct a movie for their first time and they're fantastic at it? Well, it's also because they've been in like 27 professionally made movies. You know what I mean?
True.
They've seen good directors. They've seen bad directors. They can, I don't want to say they can develop a directing style, but they can learn. They can sit there and just maybe talk to some of the directors and like, hey, I'm not in the scene. Let me watch you do this. They can do some of that stuff. When you're kind of doing shit on the fly and making shit up and you got $100,000 and you just got to make a movie, sometimes you're just making a movie. You're not really worried about, does this line up or not? I don't know. We got to fucking move the fuck on. We only got $100,000. We got to finish this shit by Tuesday. So yeah, sometimes money helps, like money and experience and stuff like that. Because more money, you get more time too. Like, it's things like that. Movies aren't cheap, and you can
is
really
true.
tell when they are. So, Heather, what about you?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to Tigger, I would say I do agree about like I liked him as a character, but I did want more as well. Like they at least should have given him like a more epic introduction, because like they have all this stuff that they're doing in the background where it's like you see him like caged up and it feels like, oh, he's the most dangerous thing that's ever existed. You know what I mean? And then like we don't really get an introduction to him that matches that. And I think it would have been cool, like even in the like when they go into the rave, right? And it's like Pooh does the whole bear trap head baseball thing. Like I actually think it would have been cool to have Tigger be the one that like busts into the party, because like it's got the rave dance music going on, and like I feel like that just kind of works with the vibe of who Tigger is, and it would just kind of show like him demolishing people as he's bouncing through that party. And you know what I mean? Like it just feels like that would have been a very good way to introduce like how psychotic and like violent and dangerous this Tigger is, you know? So I think that could have been done better. But there were moments of Tigger that I was like, okay, I like this. I think you could have expanded on Tigger more and just made him more of just like this menacing, unhinged, like uncontrollable force, more so than any of the others. And that would have been a really cool thing to do, I think. And then like, I also, with Owl, I also did like Owl, especially like as you talk through his just overacting monologuing that he's doing. I was trying to think of what it was. I was like, he's not really narrating, but he's kind of like half narrating like what's about to happen. But yeah, it's just monologuing. He's just monologuing like crazy.
They went down to the park and they went, who is the most Shakespearean motherfucker here? We're getting that guy.
It's you. Yeah. And like my only complaint about Owl is I didn't actually like his look. And maybe that's just me personally, but like he also just really kind of reminded me of that Jeepers Creepers thing from the movies. Like that's just what he looked like to me. He didn't really look like a bird as much, except for the wings.
To me, he looks like the Vulture, not the Michael Keaton Vulture, but the old school Vulture.
The old school Vulture
from Spider-Man.
Okay.
That's what he looked like to me, and maybe that's why I just accepted it automatically. Is I'm like, oh yeah, he looks like the other bird villain fucker I know. Like we kind of get a little bit of that in the first part of the Into the Spider-Verse, the sequel, whatever the fuck that one was called. Like, yeah, you get a little bit of the Vulture when they're fighting him. But yeah, I'm just so used to bird people looking like that in comic books that I'm just like, oh yeah, of course he's a bird person. Like I just instantly accepted it.
And that's fair. And like, yeah, I would say the only other exposure I would say I'd have is the Michael Keaton Vulture. Like, so yeah, it just, to me, for whatever reason, when it would show the owl, like not necessarily his wings, but every other part of him, he just looked like a Jeepers Creepers thing. And I was like, it's not my favorite, but I do like the character of Owl. I like what he brings to this movie as a whole. And then like the whole backstory about the monsters, which were these, you know, Winnie the Pooh and friends. I also did like that the story of this was like they were an experiment gone wrong type of situation. And it was actually like the young kids that were kidnapped and turned into these monsters. I think that adds this more depraved aspect to it. And I think it just kind of worked, at least for the story they were telling in this, because, you know, you've got the whole backstory of Christopher Robin's brother went missing and all these things. It plays out well. Like, I actually think that they tied that in a good way, considering. And yeah, it gives it a more like dark undertone of like, why are these creatures what these creatures are? And the fact that somebody intentionally was trying to make them into something that wasn't human. You know, it just adds like the depraved aspect that I did enjoy for this movie. And then also like adding the part of the, like with the brother going missing whole thing, it at least connects why Pooh and Christopher have this connection to each other. And like, I also like with Christopher, when he's going to therapy and he's in his sessions and he's like realizing that he had blocked out all of these like violent pieces of memory when he was like with Pooh. I actually like, I think that was like good story elements for this because it sort of added more depth, because it's like, you know, your trauma brain doesn't remember the things you don't want to remember. You know, like, I just think that actually worked well as to why, you know, he's not quite sure what this connection is and this bond or this whatever he has with him. And it just kind of added more depth to it. And like, I didn't expect depth to this one at all. And so I just appreciated that they kind of added that into it. And like, again, it's not like this movie's like a masterpiece of a film or anything like that. But like, I liked being surprised by how much it was improved, because I went into this thinking like, oh, this is going to be so bad. It's going to be fun and it's going to be funny. And yeah, it's not good, but it was still fun to watch, because I like throughout the whole thing, I was just like, okay, like you really totally changed this whole thing up. I want to see where it actually goes. So it was fun for a different reason than I expected it to be fun. And I just kind of, for that reason, I just like it a little bit more than I expected I would. A lot more, actually. But
that's a good point, though, Heather, because I think that's one reason why I maybe do accept this story a little bit with the changes. Even though I really like the motivations behind them in the first movie, was the idea that like Pooh and them were always fucking little monsters, but because he was a kid and like maybe because the movie implies, yes, that was his brother, but also the rest of them were friends at his party too. And that's why they would see him and be like, oh, we're friends. And like you said, his just little kid brain didn't latch on to the fact that the first time he met Pooh, he was eating something that he just slaughtered. You know, I kind of dug, like you said, I kind of just weirdly dug that it was just like this little thing of like, they were always these little monsters, but because they were children monsters and also children people that knew Christopher Robin to some degree, they just kind of became friends with him. And he just never noticed how fucked up they were.
Yeah, no. And kind of a little bit to what you were speaking to, Jastin, with what was like their goal, give them something here. I guess my thought with it was because when they're going through the rave and they're going through these, like, at least with Pooh and Tigger, like they knew names of people at this party. You know what I mean? And it's like the names of people that Christopher Robin had mentioned in his therapy session of like, oh, these were the other kids at the party, the ones that weren't taken, basically. So to me, it kind of felt like, I don't know if it was their motivation, but like, it just felt like they were still just angry at humans, but more so like, you know, angry at like maybe these people that were at this party either didn't do anything about it because it killed the parents and stuff too, or, oh, these are the kids that weren't taken and were pissed about it. Like that kind of felt more like why they were doing what they were doing, I guess.
I think that kind of might play into it, is that maybe they're just resentful of some of the people that weren't, you know. That's why they targeted, what was it, Ava, and that's why they targeted the one guy that Al threw up on, and you know,
yeah,
why Pooh went and attacked his parents.
Yeah, which is, I mean, and it's a weirdly like really smart detail to put that he mentioned the names of these kids, because I remember at first, I think Tigger was the one who said someone's name first. And I was like, why would he know their names? And then I was like, oh, of course he would, because he was at that party and those were his friends. Like, that's why he knows who these people are. So it just kind of was a weirdly smart, tiny detail to put in, I think. And I feel like they just really actually put 200% more effort into this movie. even though it's not, again, like we said, like imagine with a bigger budget and like more time to develop a better story, like how good this actually could have been. But just the fact that it's that much better with just little details like that. But yeah, I thought that was, again, like, not that it's necessarily a clear goal or motive, but it just kind of felt like playing into at least what they talked about in the first movie of they just hated humanity. It's like, well, they would specifically, especially hate these people in humanity that, you know, either got the lives they didn't have or didn't stop these bad things from happening to them. So I don't know. It was just kind of like, I liked the backstory that they gave for why these were these monsters. And then the other thing I did want to talk about, because it really kind of stood out to me, Christopher Robin's relationship with his sister Bunny, because like I actually think that might be one of the better dynamics in the movie. Like especially thinking about that first scene when they're talking in her room and she's got the teddy bear that she took from the missing brother's room and all this stuff. Like that felt like a believable sibling interaction to me. Like their connection and their dynamic together, I was like, that's actually a really cute scene between them. Like it felt like a big brother trying to be sweet to his little sister who doesn't quite understand these things and like playing around with her a little bit. And I just really enjoyed that dynamic. And then it kind of set the tone for, you know, when his sister goes missing because she was taken by the brother, and like just his whole, like how worried he was about his little sister and establishing that relationship early on like that, I just thought was really well done. And like, it's as much as I would say like the dialogue is pretty much whatever in this movie. It did just feel like, at least for the most part, like they were actual things people would say, more than you can get in some other horror films, I would say. Like it just felt like the movie dialogue is not, it's not the worst, I would say. And I think that's why I say like at least their interactions, the conversation they had was believable. The way they had the conversation with each other, like the way they interacted with each other was believable for this big brother, little sister type of thing. And it just stood out to me a little bit. So I wanted to specifically point that out in this movie.
Weirdly enough, the little girl that plays Bunny, I believe that's Tallulah's sister.
Oh, yeah?
I can't say with 100% certainty, but both of their last names are Evans.
Oh,
but I can't find a connection on IMDb saying they are related, but they could be.
Huh. That would be kind of cool. Yeah. I mean, I just, and the little girl too, she was good. She was really, you know, she did a good job for the role that she played in the movie. Yeah. So it's one of those very strange movies where like, and also maybe it was just, you know, I watched it on the right day or hit me on the right day where I'm just like, you know what? I kind of respect what they did with it, even though it's not the best. And again, so much of my opinion of this film is colored by the first one. Like if this, like kind of like what you said, Sterling, if this was the first one, I would be just kind of like, what is this? Like, and it's just such a wild story for, you know, a horror movie, but also for Winnie the Pooh. Like putting those two things together, it's just a wild idea that just worked a lot better in this one.
I think also one thing that this movie truly benefits from is when I sat down to watch it, and I'm just like, I guess I got to get this over with. I guess this is it. Just got to watch it. And you're expecting a movie that is 100% just like the first one. And so this movie just kind of benefits from just like going into it with just such a nothing bar of just being like, fuck my life. I got to watch this movie. And like I said, just when it's over with, you're just like, oh, okay. I didn't hate it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it really, it's what I call midnight meat train syndrome. Of you just go in with a nothing bar and just expecting the absolute dredges of movies. And you're just like, wasn't the worst. Okay, I guess. Like, because we all watch Midnight Meat Train. I mean, not Heather. but we watched Midnight Meat Train just expecting it to be some of the worst shit you'll ever fucking watch. The movie's called Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah, no right to be that good.
It's either the worst movie you watch or it's a porn. Those are the only things a Midnight Meat Train can be. And it's just a all right movie. And you're like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess. But it benefits from just having the bar be shit. I mean, like I said, we watched Pooh, Blood, and Honey, and its score was a negative 200. Which, yes, I know means I gave it at least a negative 600. Because if you guys gave it a 0 and a 1 or just something close to that, I would have to have given it a negative 600 to get average down to a negative 200. And the fact that we're all sitting there doing this, we're like, it's a 44. It's astounding, really. I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's why I was so conflicted about this movie is I thought it was going to just be the absolute worst bullshit I'm going to watch again. And just by nature of not. And just by the nature of liking a couple of things in this movie, I'm like, all right, I guess. Like, fuck me.
But also just with, unfortunately, the bad run of movies we've had this year. Like, it just kind of feels like the movie I expected to be the worst of all of them really just wasn't. So, I don't know. What is life?
Yeah, it did some all right stuff, man. It did the whole trying to get my memories back. Is my brother a killer? Finding out more about the past stuff. It did that better than Golden Freddy or whatever. It did it better than Five Nights at Freddy's.
This movie is better than Five Nights at Freddy's. It is.
It's a similar plot, but
yeah, right down to kidnap children
than Freddy's.
Yeah, it's better.
A lot of that was the same. He was like, "Oh, I gotta, I gotta jog my memories and try to figure out what happened. And my brother's, brother's missing. Got to find out what happened. All this. I mean, a lot of it was the same, but he was going, let me dream and find out what the fuck happened. This one is at least was going through to a therapist.
See, that's what I was about to say. What makes this movie better? Therapy.
Yeah.
This movie has therapy in it, and it works better. Go fucking figure.
Yeah. Freddy guy was like, man, let me keep dreaming till I remember it. What the fuck you doing, dog?
Christopher Robin remembered that shit in a year just going to therapy.
Make some better decisions. Even better than some movies comparatively this year. So.
Oh, what a time to be alive. We did not completely hate Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
I mean, it is one of those movies that like I have a few friends that are just very into horror movies that I'm like, I would want to like have them watch this and watch them watch this because I just would want to know their reaction to what's happening. Like, especially if you did it back to back, like the first one and the second one. See, it would be just kind of fun to see that.
That's where you lose it, though. You have to get them to watch the first one, and you won't be friends after that.
So that's kind of a lose-lose situation, but still.
Like, they'd kick you out of their house.
Probably so. You run that risk. But if they can get through it.
And like we said,
say, wait a second, it gets better.
The only way this movie works is if you see the first one. And I'm not even talking about plot or story-wise. I'm just saying the only way you can see any positivity in this movie is if you experience the first one. Because this movie's not good if you don't experience how low it can actually be. When you don't see the improvement in the acting and you don't see, like, for all I know, the acting in this movie is actually just dog shit bad. But I think about Pooh, Blood, and Honey 1, and I'm just like, this acting is spectacular.
You're right. It colors your view of this movie so much.
And like I said, you just run the risk of them just slapping you and kicking you out of their house by getting them to watch the first one. I mean, so you're playing a dangerous game, Heather.
And then I'm kicked out and I'm like, just watch the second one and let me come back when you're done with it.
Just film it so I can see your reaction, please.
I just want to know. Yeah.
Anyway, you guys got any more thoughts about Blood and Honey?
No, I'm good.
If we had just done a normal intro, this episode wouldn't have been terribly long.
Yeah.
My bad. I should have known better. We were actually breezing through it until I brought up Hogan. We spent 40 minutes talking about that motherfucker. Man. Anyway, on that note, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet, www.cinemaslayers.com, Cinema Slayers podcast on Facebook, at Cinema Slayers pod on TikTok. I'm sorry. Yeah, at Cinema Slayers pod on TikTok and YouTube. cinemaslayers.bsky.social on Blue Sky. Cinema_Slayers on Threads, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. Really help us out. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends, and most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love
Monologuing owls?
No, doing dishes in the dark.
You're right about that. That was crazy.
Why was his mom doing dishes in just nighttime?
That's true.
Just not even a kitchen light on, just in the dark doing dishes. Like, motherfucker,
how do you accomplish anything?
That's how you get killed by a bear. Because you didn't see it coming, because you're doing dishes in the fucking dark. We here at the Cinema Slayer podcast are pro slut, pro Sydney, pro naked. Justice for Chris. Justice for Todd. Justice for all those wonderful, wonderful stunt people and animators. And as was it Colin Farrell brought up in, I think, his Golden Globe speech, also shout out to all the fucking the caterers on the movie sets, because they do that unsung work too. They make sure you're fed and hydrated and all those wonderful things.
I love that he said that.
Yeah. So, shout out to them too. And you. You are Knuff Cinefans. Just remember that. Even when you might not feel like it, because you just watched Pooh, Blood, and Honey. Just remember, it can get better and be a Pooh, Blood, and Honey too. Not the best, but better.
It's enough.
Yeah. Just improve. That's all. Just get better. Every day can improve a little bit.
There you go.
And as I was in the podcast, the YouTube videos, and the TikToks, just remember, according to Jastin, Pooh, Blood, and Honey 15 will be a Best Picture winner.
We'll have the money by then.
They'll have like $1.5 million. Man, think about all the Tigger jumping they can do with the 1.5 million.
Cinema Slayers.
I don't got anything. You guys got anything on this outro? Are we just done?
I think I'm tapped out. I'm thinking about pancakes now too, man. That's on you.
Man, I'm still thinking about them.
Man, Jastin, you bringing up just these fabricated stories of you putting honey on pancakes at IHOP. Never seen that motherfucking happen at all.
Oh, next time I have some pancakes, I'm going to do it.
Sterling has a visceral, vivid memory of you stealing all the syrup.
Do you know how many cold and or dry pancakes I had to eat because of this motherfucker? Jastin.
Just because I use almost all of it. That's not even a lot, really, when you think about how the container they come in.
It is a lot when you would get a short stack. You'd be putting that about on 3 pancakes, motherfucker. I'd have like 5 and have no syrup. I just
so
have
good like that.
I just
though.
have like a hint of syrup. I'd have to open up the thing and just waft like syrup smell on my pancakes just to get something. I'd
When
get like
you
a LaCroix.
drench them. It's the best though.
It's not, Justin. You
How
get
do you
nothing.
not drench? Like I don't understand why you
Because
don't drench.
I'm a human being, Justin. I just need a regular amount of syrup.
Jastin doesn't know how many friendships he lost because of this. He sacrificed friends for the syrup.
I don't understand why you don't drench though. You need to try that drench, Sterling. It'll
A,
change your life, bro.
It's because I have respect for other people. B, I'm not a savage.
I thought you were just going to say it's because you never got a chance because Jastin always took all the syrup.
That's probably point C. Justin, I've never had enough syrup.
It's just a style. Some people like Coke. Some people like Coke Zero. I
love
like
that
to
you're like,
drench.
we were
It's
sitting
a
here talking about
style.
you taking all the syrup, and you're like, I don't know why you guys don't drench it. That's why. There's nothing there to drench.
I mean, Jastin would be the type of person, if he ever ordered a Belgian waffle, you know, people like will fill up each square. He'd pour a bottle per square. It's like, Jastin, you can't even pour anything in that because it's already full of syrup. And you're like, I gotta try.
You might as well just start carrying your own syrup bottle with you places.
I mean, Jastin, you essentially would do to
Might have.
pancakes with syrup what Pooh did to honey in the first one.
I don't know, man. It's just my style.
I mean,
bro.
you ate
gotta respect my
pancakes
style.
like they were cereal and the soup was milk.
It's just a different style of doing it, man. I'm just a little different, man. You can accept people with left-handed. Why can't you accept my drench?
We listen and we don't judge.
Justin, because you weren't born being a syrup lover. You were just greedy.
Oh, is it gluttony?
Yes, Justin. It's greed and gluttony. It's not just one, it's both. And it might be a hint of lust.
Do you think so?
Yes, Justin. It was absurd. Dude,
So
you
when I
drenched
drench,
your
I
pancakes
glut.
like it was your kink, motherfucker.
When I drench, I glutton? I don't know, man. I think it might be teetering, but I don't think it's like really glutton. Maybe it's close.
It's
but-
greed, it's gluttony, and a little bit of lust. And all it filled me with was jealousy and wrath. You putting syrup on pancakes would almost get all 7 of the deadly sins.
I really just want a soundbite of Jastin saying, man, drenching it is gluttonous? Like just that soundbite.
And
I
I'd
didn't
feel bad because if
realize
that
this.
happened, it would be partially sloth on my part. What is the one other deadly sin that I'm forgetting? There's only one more. Where's my watch? I've got a watch that tells me all of them. Let's see. Let's go through them. We'll go right here.
Like at different times, or
So I've got a watch right here, actually, that is it's a 7 sins watch. So instead of it saying what day it is, it just says a different deadly sin every day. And that would be pride. Pride is the one I forgot. And
That's
Is that what
Jastin
won't
not
allow me to
admitting
see
it's
it?
weirdly enough,
drenched.
Is
that's
that me?
Jastin being proud of his fucking exploits of syrup. Like gluttony.
I was proud of it. I
See?
thought I was just doing something delicious.
Justin
I was
putting
proud
syrup
of it.
on
I
pancakes
thought
around
I
me
was just-
would
I thought
invoke
I had
all
figured
7
out
of the
something that
deadly
was
sins.
hella delectable.
See, 7 deadly
But-
sins, just you putting syrup on pancakes would invoke all 7 of the deadly sins.
But I glutton?
Yes, Justin.
Man, I'm gonna ask the hostess.
Okay.
I'm gonna be like, look, is this gluttony?
You need to ask
I'm
a
gonna
fucking
ask
priest.
everybody
They're
at
the ones that
I'm
are
gonna
experts
ask the
on it,
people at the
motherfucker.
restaurant. Is this gluttony?
Why are you asking a hostess? Ask a priest.
Oh yeah, huh?
Well,
I need
The
to have
hostess is
one
going to
of
be
them.
like, no, have more, please. Stay
I need to
longer.
invite one of them to. Yeah, you're right. They would have
They're the experts.
they would have incentive to make me do it, but a priest would let me know if it's gluttony.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look. Do drench these hoes. Is this gluttony?
He'd probably slap you for having to ask.
Do I glutton? How do you put? Why should I ask him? Do I glutton?
Justin, I'm telling you right now, you do.
I don't think I glutton,
Justin,
Sterling. I don't know, man.
You glutton, you greed, you lust,
I might need
and
to
you
do
pride.
a questionnaire. I might need to put this online, man.
This conversation is going to live rent free in my head for like 2 weeks. This is crazy. Man, you have so many good sound bites in here that we need to put on TikTok. This is great.
Do I glutton with my syrup? Is my syrup drench gluttonous?
Is my drenching gluttonous?
Jastin, I hate to break it to you. Anytime you drench anything in the food world, I'm pretty sure that's gluttonous. Can you name one time you could drench anything when it comes to food and it's not gluttony?
It's just a drench. I mean, I don't understand. It's just a drench.
Jastin, I do a swirl. A swirl.
I don't understand what's so wrong with a drench, man. I just like them things wet. I mean, just moist. I like them things.
Wait, Justin. I just like the idea of I just like wet pancakes.
I like them things wet. You know what I'm saying?
No, Justin, don't say that. Just say you like wet pancakes.
Till they wet.
Say you like wet pancakes, Justin.
What? I drink some pancakes till they wet.
No. I want you to say out loud, I want wet pancakes, and just see how bad that sounds.
I want the pancakes wet. Yeah.
See, you feel bad about it, Justin.
Yeah.
I
feel great, man.
You know it's wrong.
I feel great.
No, you don't.
I feel hungry.
Justin, you said
I'm
wet
for
pancakes.
wet cakes.
This motherfucker just said wet cakes. Justin. Justin,
your boy can't be hungry for wet cakes.
No, Justin, you know that's wrong. You know that's wrong.
Is it wrong?
You know you
Which
feel
one
dirty.
is this? Which sin is this?
That's the sin of... I don't even know, motherfucker.
Which sin falls under the drenched cakes?
That one, probably lust. You're saying it just too sexually.
Okay.
You want wet cakes.
Drenched cakes.
This doesn't help.
Drenched my
Justin.
cakes.
That doesn't help, Justin.
You need to figure out the best way for me to say it.
Just say you want some normal fucking pancakes.
Okay.
Drenching them.
Don't
Quit,
say it.
No, just quit doing it.
So I can't tell like the waiter, hey, I'm trying to drench these cakes.
No,
Bring me out
Justin.
another syrup.
Justin, that is lust. Because they're probably going to slap you because you just said you want to drench some cakes to some waitress. You can't be doing that. That's sexual harassment.
What do you mean they're going to slap me? I mean, why would they just bring the syrup out? I don't understand. What is what I do really that weird? Is it really that foreign? Nobody drenches their cakes? Man, I'm going online with this one.
Justin, you cannot go online and ask people about drenching cakes, Justin.
I'm going to start a thread for
You're going to
drenching
get in trouble.
cakes.
You're going to be labeled sex pest if you're talking about drenching cakes like that.
Oh, I'm going to get in trouble?
Yeah, Justin. That
Okay.
right? No. You can't
So
be
it's too
drenching cakes.
sexual saying it that way. I need my cakes drenched. That's too sexual.
That
So I
sounds
just
like
need
you
to be
want
like-
somebody to do something to you.
I need my cakes syruped. I need them syrup.
That's better, but not by much. Like,
Not by much.
you especially can't say, I want my cakes drenched, Jastin.
Don't say that.
Don't say that.
Oh.
I mean, you can say that. You can want that action. That's fine. No judgment. But still, I'm just saying, if you don't want certain sexual acts performed, don't say that.
Okay.
You'll get a lot of advances with that, but yeah.
You'd probably be very popular if you walk around saying, I want my cakes drenched.
Okay.
I'm about to die. Oh my
So
gosh.
only at the breakfast table. Got it.
No, don't say
Then
that.
that way nobody will misconstrue it. If we're all eating breakfast and I go, I want my cakes drenched, Yeah. They'll know they'll go, oh, well, he's obviously talking about pancakes.
Or they're going to think you want to go with somebody else.
So it's only appropriate at the breakfast table.
It's never appropriate to say that, Jastin. Never.
They're just going to think that you just have a set time that you just need that every day. That's all they're going to think.
They're going to
7
think,
o'clock.
Okay.
It's time to drench the cakes.
they're going to be looking at you going, well, I mean, Jastin apparently breakfast food puts him in a certain mood.
Right.
They won't be like, he's just talking about breakfast and
No.
he just wants a large amount of syrup.
No, that's sex acts.
They're not going to think that. They're going to think something else about me drenching my cakes.
They're going to think you want semen on your ass. I don't know how else to say it. And not just a little bit, a lot.
Because it's drenched.
Yes.
That's why.
Yeah, because it's a drench.
Yeah.
But that's a cream pie.
No, cream pie is in. Not on.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's in.
So another word would be glazing.
Yes, this is more of a glaze.
Yes.
Okay. You gotta, it's important to make those distinctions.
It is. That's why you don't say you want your cakes drenched, no matter where you're at.
I genuinely hope people are still listening to this part of the podcast.
If you,
I need
because
opinions
then
on
that
all
way,
of
if I
this.
say this at breakfast, they'll know that it's innocent.
no, it's still not, Justin. It's still some sense. It's still gluttony. It's still greed. It's still pride. It's still
I'm going
lust.
to ask a preacher about it.
Okay. Please do. Report back.
I don't want him to know it's me. Can I write him a letter?
Well, if it helps
If I
you,
drench my cakes, is that gluttony?
Justin, if it helps you any,
Dear pastor, if I drench my cakes, is that gluttony?
I am a reverend, Justin.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have a watch of sin. So
I think you
So
got your
you
answer.
say it's gluttony.
yeah, my official ordained opinion is gluttony.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sterling, but I'm going to need a second opinion.
I imagine Sterling like if he was actually like in an office as a reverend with his watch, just like, what sin is this going to be? Just like playing with his watch to like say, this is the sin I'm going to tell you that it is today.
I mean, if you
In
want,
confessional
Justin.
booths, just like, is this a sin? And you're just like, pride. Yes. Yes, it is. It's pride.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. This was something else, guys.
Wow.
I mean, my
That was
watch is officially set to gluttony now because of you, Justin.
Oh, man.
All the way till morning, probably, until you drench those cakes.
For 24 hours, it's set to gluttony in honor of Justin drenching cakes.
You're making me afraid to eat pancakes.
Justin, just eat them like a normal motherfucker. That's all I'm saying.
I thought it was normal, Sterling. I was just drenching them.
What do you mean you thought that was normal? You've never seen another motherfucker do that, Justin.
It felt
You saw-
Because you always have the syrup.
You saw
Nobody else
every
can
one
do.
of us put just a normal, respectable amount of syrup on our pancakes. Don't be sitting there acting like you thought it was normal. Because we
It
called you,
feels right,
we
though,
we
when I
called
do
you out
it.
then too, Jastin. Don't act like this is the first time you've also heard this. We called you out whilst it happened.
It feels good when I do it, though. It doesn't feel wrong when I'm doing it.
That's why it's gluttony, Jastin.
Oh,
Yeah. Haven't you ever noticed sins feel good? I mean, I'm just saying. Sins
they?
don't feel bad. They feel good.
they feel good.
Yeah.
Man, why does this have to be a sin? What church can I join where I can drench my cakes?
Where you can't or where you can?
Where I can. Where they go, oh, that's not a sin here. You can drench them.
The Satanic Temple's fine with it.
They let you drench cakes?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask them. I'm going to email.
His
I'm
name
not
is
gonna do
Lucian Graves. He's the head of the Satanic Temple.
Can you imagine that subject headline?
Just send a letter to Tom Cruise. Just ask Tom Cruise.
Don't, because Tom Cruise is going to tell you to get your thetans checked if you want that much syrup.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, Jastin, as far as the tenets of the Satanic Temple go, drenching cakes consensually is not a problem. As long as you're not hurting somebody else whilst you do it, you're fine.
Nobody ever seemed hurt. I just be
Well,
sitting
we
there
were,
enjoying
Jastin.
them. They just so much syrup is everywhere, Sterling.
If
You
you-
caused anger and something in Sterling.
Jastin, if you want to be nice about your syrup drenching, just pre-ask the person for an extra bottle of syrup so that you're not negatively affecting other people's syrup needs.
And you get the
Okay.
amount you want
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. Because I love it, Sterling. They taste great like that.
Have you ever tried
Yeah.
doing scientific
There's
experiments?
so much left on the plate. It's just all over the plate.
Well, that's why it's gluttony, Jastin. It's wasteful. You're wasting all that syrup. Have you ever tried putting just enough syrup on there, like lessening it to where you get all your syrup flavor, but there's not a pool of syrup on the plate afterwards?
It feels
Wrong.
strange.
I'm just saying, like you put enough syrup on there that it soaks up, so you get the same flavor of syrupy pancake, just without a pool of it left over.
I like the visual of it plentiful. I like the visual of just seeing so much of it.
Gluttony, Justin. It's gluttony. It's greed and gluttony. And like
Even
I said, a
when I
little bit
see it,
lustful. No, Justin.
Is I gluttony even just because I want to see it?
Yes. It's still gluttonous behavior. And it's greed.
I'm just looking at it though. I'm
Okay.
just looking at the cake.
That's leaning more into the lustful then.
I just want to eat the cakes though. I'm not.
Yeah. That's still lustful, Justin.
I don't want nothing from them but to eat them.
Yep. Exactly. A lot of people like eating ass,
I don't
Justin.
like where
That's
this
fine.
conversation went.
Fair enough. I'm just your reverend. That's all. Just giving you some reverendly advice.
Reverend Hour with Sterling.
Reverend Howard. Yeah.
It's been about that. We've gone so long on this too. Holy shit. Something is wrong with us tonight. We're just in a mood.
I
Yeah.
guess. This movie set the axis off or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Are we done? Let's be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.